Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another Saturday Smackdown. We have returned. It's certainly been a while, but what a Smackdown to return with. This one was particularly good. You can tell from the length of the video that this one was good. Almost 3 hours long. Holy crap. Boneng vs Mitoe. Two extremely skilled players, both very evenly matched. And let's be honest, Boneng is a very interesting guy to watch anyway with his I like to boom on the water and go up to the fortress age with 0 military units kind of style is interesting. Oh yes. Game number 3 is definitely one to check out. Perhaps you only have time to watch one of the games. I know it's a long video, but game number 3, do check that out. That was really, really fun. You can skip to any of the matchups. They're all listed in the description below. That facility is still there. I'm not going to put it in the annotations on screen with the flags that you can click on anymore because people, some people don't like that. It ruins the matchups coming up and it ruins their experience and it ruins, you can sometimes guess who's going to win sort of games depending on the matchups that are coming up because of you can't play the same civ more than once and stuff like that. And if there's not 7 games, then yeah, it's stuff like that. So it is in the description. You can still skip. But yes, we are back. I do apologize. We were away on the 4th of July. Quite an important date in the USA. Zuta was away for that. And the week after, Zuta said, he would be away for that as well. But I forgot. And I got everyone excited saying we've returned when actually we hadn't. So yes, he was, visiting his grandparents, I think. But yes, do enjoy this Saturday Smackdown. We are back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Saturday Smackdown. We have returned. We are back, Zuta and I, bringing you another best of 7 between 2 of Age of Empires 3's top-level players. Mitoe vs Boneng. Age of Empires 3, absolutely. Zuta, what is the date?
July 18th, 2015.
Wonderful. And that's it for, well, here we have week 53. You've put in the title, Zuta.
Indeed. Yeah, as I mentioned, this is straight up the 2nd year that we've been doing Saturday Smackdown. So we've made it to the year, and to be perfectly honest, I don't have any intentions of stopping anytime soon. I really enjoy Saturday Smackdown.
Yeah, I love doing this as well. It's it's one of the highlights of the weekend for me. It's just a lot of fun, and it is something that I hope a lot of other people enjoy. I can tell from the YouTube sort of side of things, and also the Twitch chat. It's a lot of fun. So let's take a moment to appreciate, I guess, that.
How lovely Saturday Smackdown.
An entire year that you started, not with me. I mean, I'm not quite sure. Actually, I will find out. We'll probably mention that one day when it is a year. But let's take a look at this game. Yes, we are back after 2 weeks. Let's get quickly into the game, and then I've got a couple of things to say because of the 2-week break. But yeah, here we have Mitoe in the north of the map in the colour teal, playing as indeed the Germans. Laying down an early trading post there. Pretty normal stuff. Started with enough wood. Hold on, no he didn't. He's got 100 coin on the floor.
He got a nice treasure. He got a 50 wood treasure in base, so that definitely helped him. He's going to have to chop a lot of wood, but...
Oh, finds another 50 wood though, but it's a bit too late. He's already got all the wood he needs for a house, but does not have to collect that final 5. But yeah, it'd be nice to have seen that a little bit earlier, but I guess he was building that trading site. But certainly going to be very useful, as we know, for Germany. But let's introduce our opponent, or at least Mitoe's opponent. Here he is in the south of the map in the colour red, Boneng.
Yep.
Characteristically playing a civilization that is interesting.
I love watching Boneng play. Even when he plays on land maps, it's just so much fun to watch his unique style. Yeah,
it's always fun to watch players with perhaps an interesting style, and it does make me wonder how much Boneng's clearly a very good player, but is that down to his style, or is that just down to him being mechanically good at RTS? I don't know, or perhaps both. But here, playing as the Portuguese has gone for that early market, having started with 100 coin, can obviously buy the extra wood, blah, 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 for the house and the hunting dogs here. Now, we start the treasure hunt. It begins.
Yep. One other thing I do want to mention about Boneng, so back in 2008, 2009, 2010, I was on board with there is a correct way to play a civ, and if you deviate from this style that I think is correct, you're inherently playing wrong. And the more Age of Empires 3 that I've watched, and especially the more I've seen players like Boneng and A's play, where they just do completely crazy stuff every single game and are successful with it, has made me changed basically like my thoughts on the game, like just in general, because like I used to think there's a way to play a civ on a map in a matchup, and I completely don't think that anymore. I don't know if it's just like a coming of age thing for young ZutaZuta, or whether or not it's just been, you know, an eye-opening experience by watching some of these players.
Can definitely feel that you have changed since sort of the beginning of Smackdown.
Yep.
I remember like casting with you in the beginning, and you'd look at A's not building a house with Portuguese or France even or whatever, not making a market, and you'd just groan and get upset.
He's doing it wrong. Why can't you play like me?
Yeah. I think there is, to an extent, definitely playstyles that work better on certain maps and with certain civilizations. But yeah, as you say, I think I agree with what you're saying.
Holy crap, Mitoe's gathering so much wood. He's got so many villagers on wood right now. Is he going to expo pike? Like, there's a chance maybe he expo pikes here. Look at how many villagers he's got on wood.
Yeah, how much? I mean, he's got more than enough for steel traps. In fact, he's already, well, he could potentially be getting placer mines as well.
I mean, he's going to get
expo pike though. Any forward villagers?
Yeah. No, there's no forward villagers yet, which is, I mean, he could just be gathering for a second TP. Let's keep in mind he's playing against the Portuguese, who do have a fairly slow start. We can even see Boneng's gone with, like, Furrier as his first card, so, like, it's going to be a really slow start for Boneng. And so maybe he's just going to pick up a second TP and then continue with, like, his normal semi-FF type agenda, or maybe, you know, like, even some sort of FI-ish agenda.
Yeah, wow. FI, that'd be fun.
Yeah, well, it would make sense, you know, with the resource spawn, I guess, that he's had, or with the civ spawn, I guess. But yeah, it looks like he's just going to pick up that wood for a second trading post. Has the wood as well for a steel traps pickup, and we'll have to see what he does with this. I'm still assuming that we'll see, you know, fairly normal stuff. We can see aged up with 400 wood. That's completely normal, and I still expect him, honestly, to still drop a stable, so I don't think we'll see anything too wacky, but that second trading post makes me think maybe he's leaning towards even more of a tech-based play. And against someone like Boneng, you know, could pay off in...
Could, but equally, don't you think Boneng has a very interesting play style and a very adaptable person? Certainly, that's, you know, evident from some of the games he plays on water, where he doesn't build units for so long, but isn't something that Boneng, you know, Boneng being quite an adaptable player, is something a bit different, not really going to throw him off as much as somebody who, you know, plays perhaps more standard. But there is that stable you're talking about, so it's not going to be deviating too much, but certainly with the extra trading post, which I think he'll, you know, quite easily get away with against Portuguese, as you mentioned, is very slow, especially with a Furrier start. Wow, you don't see that card being played quite as often. Obviously the extra food bonus there, but yeah, it looks like he's going to get away with this.
Furrier's pretty good on this map, because it is a map that does have berries, which you're going to use at some point, and it's also got a lot of hunt, so that card is actually like pretty decent in this particular matchup, I think, or in this particular map with his civ. I mean, Ports don't have a villager card that they can send, so he wants to be able to send something, and sending Furrier, I guess, is going to work out for him. Now, Mitoe, because he did chop so much extra wood, we can see his resource count is really low. Like, he just doesn't have that many resources available to him, and Boneng is already on his way up. So we'll have to see whether or not that ends up being a big deal or not.
Yeah, we will. Obviously, it's quite slow. Certainly something to be concerned about. Well, at least he will be when Boneng does hit up. And certainly doesn't have the resource to be hitting up anytime soon. We do see several cavalry units coming in for a raid. But Boneng, on top of the ball, they're certainly going to get the villagers in nice and quickly. Certainly very practiced at doing that, is Boneng, playing as Portuguese a lot. And certainly always playing what seems to be this defensive style, where he's always sticking in his base. Oh, almost loses a village.
He's doing such a good job of keeping his villagers alive, yet at the same time still popping out...
Holy crap, a third TP!
Yeah, I was going to mention that as well. But yeah, Boneng's doing a good job here. He kept all of his villagers alive, didn't lose any. Worked away some of the HP on some of those Ulans, so definitely going to help him. And Mitoe's still, like, he's still not aged up. He still doesn't even have his age up in queue. Instead opted to make another batch of cavalry, so he's going to be up considerably later than Boneng. And Boneng, Boneng is aged up here very soon, has a stable up, is going to be able to send 5 Dragoons as his next card, and could end up in a situation, you know, where Dragoons are out on the map and the age 2 Ulans just aren't that good against dealing with the Portuguese age 3. We'll have to see.
That's absolutely true. I mean, like, part of the strength of this tech-based Fast Fortress style... Oh, Town Center wagon and Castadors. Looks like he's not going to follow up that wagon, and that wouldn't be the right decision, certainly, because he could build that very quick. But those Castadors certainly vulnerable. He knows that they have to have spawned somewhere. Look at them splitting up the cavalry. I'm not necessarily sure if he's... Well, he certainly most likely have seen them. Splitting up his cav looking for those Castadors. But they have narrowly escaped not only one batch of cav, but a second one from their second TP stable.
That was so close. Like, that was a game of inches there. Like, I'm pretty sure the line of sight... Like, he maybe saw them just for the smallest of split seconds on his map, but it was very clear. Yeah,
where is it?
And look at how many units he has running around here. He knows it's around here somewhere, but
he's looking for those Castadors. Looks like he's found them. Oh dear, Boneng, you need to keep those alive. Has he seen them? Yes, certainly, bringing the cavalry in there. There are only 3 Yolans here, but those are still going to make short work of these 6 Castadors. Really not going to be too good for Boneng. Certainly wants those alive.
But at the same time, like, Mitoe is just aging up now, and look at how many Ulans he's going to lose to these 5 Dragoons that Boneng's got out. Like, the Dragoons are going to be able to kite infinitely and basically just whittle away on those Ulan numbers indefinitely until Mitoe gets aged up, until he gets, you know, his 8 skirmisher shipment out or something like that. He's going to take a lot of damage from these couple of Dragoons.
Oh dear, but he did get a little bit of... No, he needs to get away from those. I think, you know, having aged up so slowly, the Dragoons coming out effectively nullifies sort of the extra cavalry being there, because it can easily be killed. And part of the strength of this sort of German tech style is the speed of it, that you can get lots of units into your opponent's base, and hasn't really taken advantage of speed at all. Thought perhaps I'm up against an opponent who's quite slow, but maybe that's not worked out too well.
Yeah, let's point out the fact, though, that Mitoe's economy is really, really good. He sent 3 settler wagons and 2 settler wagons in the second age, and he's got 3 TPs with stagecoach upgrades. So despite the fact that he was up significantly slower than Boneng, he doesn't have quite the tech advantage that, you know, Boneng has presently. His economy is miles ahead of Boneng's right now, who only has 28 villagers, and it looks like, as I said, Boneng is trying to work his way in towards the 4th age. You can see he's just sent 1,000 coin, and likely he's going to be doing some sort of semi-FI. Yeah,
definitely 1,000 coin on the floor, no doubt about it. Definitely going to be using that to age up. Currently doesn't have anything in his queue anyway. And I'm not sure how Mitoe is going to respond to this. I mean, certainly has a good economy, but as soon as Boneng is up, it's going to be pretty difficult to deal with sort of the industrial age composition once those 2 heavy cannons join the fray, once factories get up and running.
But look at the military disparity at this point in the game. 59 military count for Mitoe versus just those 5 Dragoons for Boneng, the 10 population. It's going to be very difficult to deal with this military force that Mitoe has moving across the map. And, you know, I don't know. Boneng's aging up right now, but he's got a lot of his economy centered down here. We can see he's trying to split off some of it to the north side of the map, but I don't know if that's... in itself, splitting up his economy is going to be enough. He's got Minutemen popping out, but he's certainly going to lose, you know, at least this town center and maybe even some more of his infrastructure. We can't tell which town center he's got the age up going in. I pray for his sake that it's not in this one here down at the bottom, but a player of his caliber, I think he knows. It's probably in this town center or something like that. I find it very unlikely that he would make the mistake to be aging in the same town center that, you know, he knows his opponent has all of his economy centered in it.
Yeah, 5 Dragoons, though, doing a little bit of damage here and there where they can, but Mitoe, a good player, has tasked, of course, his veteran war wagons and his skirmishers to deal with those 5 Dragoons. Not going to let them just mindlessly gun down his units and not punish him for it. This town center is certainly looking quite vulnerable. Looks like it's going to go down, but Boneng almost up to the next stage. He does have, I think, a shipment, well, not quite yet. Doesn't have a shipment available, 70% there. So it looks like it's Yeah, I don't know. This is looking
It's
tough
tricky.
now.
Yeah,
All of a
he
sudden,
has 9 villagers in here as well, and let's make no mistake, all 9 of those villagers, when that town center goes down, are completely dead. Oh, they're gonna make a run for it.
yeah. Oh, that is the best time to do it. I feel just before the TC goes down.
Run, please. He actually got out of there.
Yeah, wow, he managed to get them out. I guess if you wait until it's fully destroyed, they're expecting them to fall out, and they obviously will checking back on that town center. Perhaps they're not looking. Maybe just getting out just before is obviously perhaps the right time to do it. And it looks like it paid off there.
Yeah, he did get out, but let's make no mistake, Boneng is still very far. Is he trying to revolt here, do you think? Like, he's got resources that almost look like he's trying to revolt.
I think so. Let's take a look at the... he sent 1,000 wood. I can't see what you would use that for.
But he could just use it for infrastructure, right? Like, anticipating the loss of his stable and houses and stuff down there to the south side.
Yeah,
No, there it is. He's got resources to revolt right now.
Resources to revolt, yeah. But also that would, I guess... I mean, surely you prefer 2 heavy cannons than to
Yep, there it is. Here comes the revolt. The villagers are out. It has been
queued. He's going to most likely go up with the 2P warriors. Now, if you can get the shipment of 2P before you revolt, it can be extremely strong.
It's the pistoleros.
Oh, is it? Oh, my goodness. Perhaps didn't
Here they come. And Mitoe immediately pulls all of his stuff back to his base. He knows he just has to kill the army, and if he kills the army, he wins the game.
Yep.
And to be perfectly fair, he's got a large mass of skirmishers, which are going to do really well against the colonial militia, which are tagged as a heavy infantry type unit. So he's got even the answers to the revolt here. And Boneng's, I mean, like, look at the scores. Even with the revolt score in his favor, that huge bonus, you know,
it's massive.
I mean, Mitoe is just, he's so far ahead. Even with the revolt, he's just got so many more units. Like, just look at the unit count.
I'm looking at these outlaws though, and they don't have any cost, so they don't actually contribute to the score. So I think actually it is deflated by, well, it should be a lot larger than it actually is. But here the armies, I'm actually thinking, 4 Gatling guns do join the fray. That does turn the favor in, I think, Boneng's favor here. Certainly Gatling guns absolutely redonkulous versus the skirmishes there. They're going to have a hard time dealing with these. And these pistoleros have, they're actually very fast at moving, so that's certainly an advantage. And their stats are not bad either, certainly in the attack department. But unfortunately for
Mitoe, or for Boneng rather, the range advantage of the skirmishers is just so huge right now. Like, he's going to be able to infinitely kite that stuff, and Mitoe doesn't care about this stuff down to the south of the map. He's got so many resources in bank. Soon he's going to have like max population. He's basically a shipment and using his resources away from max population at this point. And at that point, like, a max pop age 3 German army is like not something that very many civs can deal with at all.
Very tough.
Despite the fact that he's revolted in the 4th age, I don't know that it really is going to make that much of a difference.
Yeah. I mean, he gets 16 colonial militia with every shipment, and it is still fairly on in the game. That's certainly very good. But his opponent has absolutely huge economy, as you mentioned, and I think he can replace his units. Well, the point is Boneng cannot replace his units. But something to take in mind, bear into account, is these outlaws, they do not show a dot on the minimap. Perhaps you can get the snipe raid in without anyone noticing.
I keep losing them. Where they are.
You can't find them.
I can't find them. Keep losing. Oh my god, those Gatling guns.
Yeah, but here comes the cavalry. Looks like they want to take those out. But fortunately, colonial militia do have a ranged multiplier versus cavalry. And the Ulan, being quite squishy, aren't going to want to get too close to those for the time being. And Mitoe avoiding this fight.
Yeah. And I mean, at some point though, he's just gonna have to smash his way in here. I mean, he's at, like I said, he's at max pop. He's at 186 basically now. He's so far ahead in terms of population that I think he can just work his way in here. Gonna be able to pick off one of the Gatlings? Nope, not quite.
No. I guess what he's trying to do here, Mitoe, by the looks of it, is just prolong the game for as long as possible, using his units to sort of harass the opponent's drop site. If he can get all of those down, that's another way to win. But also prolong Boneng from actually doing any relevant damage, because the longer this game goes on, the more units Mitoe can make, the more resources he can collect. And of course, Boneng's doing none of that. So I guess Mitoe just really trying to stall the game for as long as possible before really taking this fight without taking too much damage.
Yeah, the longer this game goes, the better it gets for Mitoe. We do have to remember, you know, the shipments aren't free. They do cost a lot of XP, and if they aren't fighting and Boneng's not generating XP for these shipments, he's not going to be improving his army value whatsoever. And so we can see for the time being, Mitoe just running around, picking off town centers, picking off trading posts, and just avoiding the fights to avoid the fact that Boneng really needs XP.
Oh, here goes the Gatling guns. Black Riders doing some work there. 2 Gatling guns down. Only 1 volley of Colonial Militia to punish him for it. Nicely done there from Mitoe, sneaking in with his 2 Black Riders. And that's exactly what he needs to do. Because Gatling guns, I think, are really the only unit that's actually truly scary there.
Yeah, it's definitely the only, like, somewhat scary thing. And I wouldn't be surprised here. Yeah, Mitoe's bringing everything back. Looks like he's going to collapse on this now. And he's going to be able to pick off 1 more Gatling gun before the start of this fight even begins. And Boneng's numbers just really whittling down here. Even, like, so many Ulans down here on the south side of the map just able to do anything. Oh, and the Culverin, just for
an extra Culverin, because why not? It's just all you need, really.
Yep.
And then your entire army counters everything he has.
Yeah. I mean, now this is the point where now the skirmishers have literally nothing to be afraid of. I love, you know, I've said this before about Boneng, but this is the point where if I were Boneng, I would have resigned like 5 minutes ago. To be perfectly honest.
Yep. Boneng fights
like,
it out.
Nope. He is, and he's like controlling all of his units like to the best of his ability. He's like doing the best he can to like still win the game and like still getting his colonial militia into good positions against Ulans and stuff like that. Like he's still trying his absolute damnedest to win, despite the fact that he's got like 6 units on the board. And I love that about this guy.
Yep, but there it is. Loses all of his army. Has no military units left remaining to him. And at that point is truly forced to call the GG. But Boneng, very consistent in the sense that he always fights down to the last, and is not somebody who ever really resigns very quickly. Love him or hate him for it. It's certainly a trait of his. But that does conclude the first game. A swift victory to Mitoe in this best of 7. Any concluding comments whilst we look at the post game?
Yeah, I don't think so. I'm just trying to desperately figure out how to turn off the scores in the upper right. Is it F4?
It is F4.
Yes, F4. I know one of these things like does like screenshot, and so I didn't want to just like be randomly pushing buttons because then I like everything starts lagging and it's like F5, F5. Oh shit! Now I've got like 6 screenshots. I was just trying to turn off the score.
Yeah, F4. All right, next game coming up right about now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to game number 2 in this best of 7 series between Mitoe and Boneng for Saturday Smackdown. Absolutely, the matchup here.
Still July 18th.
Still July 18th. I was gonna mention the date, but I couldn't remember it, and I didn't want to ask you again because we'd already said it in the first video. But this matchup is France versus Boneng. I mean France. France versus Aztecs. Aztecs is playing the Boneng. What am I even saying? Oh dear. Aztecs is playing the Boneng. Alright, we'll go with that. Here we have Aztecs playing the Civilization Boneng. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Spawning, importantly, with 2 wood crates, I believe. So no house market and fire pit. He will not be able to build the 3rd one. Or not the 3rd one, because that was one of them, the market, that is something like that. Anyway, but on the other side of the map here we have Mitoe playing as the French, going to be collecting a little bit of extra wood, no doubt. Has intentions of laying down a 60 wood treasure here. 60 wood treasure here. Looks like a trading post.
Where are you at? I don't see it.
Right here.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, going to be building his trading post, but is going to go for
the
the
one
60
that he's
wood.
actively working on.
Zuta! Yes, this one.
I panicked. I thought I was going blind or something.
Oh dear. Yep, there is that. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time, or halfway through the VOD, yes, we do this every week. We have missed 2 weeks. The reason for that was 4th of July, very important date in the US.
Okay.
I believe Zuta had a good time, and hopefully lots of other people did as well. In the week after that, Zuta did say that he would not be here for the 2nd week after the 4th of July. I got everyone excited that Saturday Smackdown was returning that week, but actually it wasn't. So that's why we haven't had 2 Saturday Smackdowns for a week running. And also there was one I didn't put on my YouTube channel. I will get around to that probably tonight or maybe I'll just put it on the official channel if I miss one. That seems to be what I'm doing. So now that you're up to date, let's get back into the game that we've introduced the players in. What have you been seeing, Zuta?
I don't know. I'm just watching this lame Boneng scout chase around this this French scout down here.
Mesmerizing.
Yeah. I hate the Aztec scout more than any. Like, it might be number one on my list of things I hate.
I thought that was the Iroquois scout.
Well, the Iroquois scout is like, it's cover mode scouts in general. Right?
Yeah.
He's already got it. He's got it in cover mode right now, so it takes less damage from that little guy punching him.
Yeah, I love how he went for the treasure steal anyway, even though he clearly wasn't going to get it. Perhaps he thought maybe Boneng would turn around and kill the scout or something and get a cheeky pickup. But here, actually 2 French units. Is that even going to be enough to deal with this guy?
Yeah, it'll take him forever though. Like, but to be perfectly fair, it's definitely worth having that thing dead.
Yeah.
Fortunately for Boneng, it is fairly close to his base, so he is going to be able to come and pick it up with, say, like a warrior priest or something at some point. It's not the end of the world if he loses.
Are you looking at this control from Mitoe? Like,
yeah, it's really good.
It is really good. Like, he must be truly focusing on this. And look at the scout trying to get it away on 6 HP. Of course, that guy does not have a ranged attack. There is no way. Bringing it back in. What the lure? Look at that. Wow, luring him in. Try to get that close, get that scout super close, lure Boneng in, and then run it away, take it all away.
He got him.
He got him. Nice pickup. Normally it's the inverse of that happening, where the Aztec Explorer kills yours simply because it is so much stronger. And once you
he's got 500 HP. I don't know why they randomly just, like, maybe they decided to give him more HP because he's a melee scout, but like, I don't know, he's just randomly got 100 more HP than like all other scouts.
So the Chinese one equally has more HP than usual. Certainly the War Chief's scouts tend to be, well, they're clearly better. They have extra abilities and whatnot.
Ooh. And what have we got? What have we got here? Sneaky
villager coming in. There is a 95 wood treasure. Of course, Mitoe not going to be expecting this since he has killed his opponent's explorer here. The villager cheekily going to be picking that up, but does notice on the minimap that it is there. But still, he has that potential 50-50 where we both go down. Looks like...
I think he got it. I'm pretty sure he got it.
I'm not even sure. Oh, Mitoe picking it up. Nicely done. Well, it could have been worth the villager seconds, absolutely. And I definitely think it's, still a good idea to, if the villager isn't nearby, at least, go for it perhaps. But at this point, does seem rather sad since he's now 95 wood behind. Well, villager seconds behind, and also doesn't have a scout.
Yeah, but at the same time, it did cause a little bit of a distraction. I don't know that Mitoe necessarily saw this working its way up here.
That's true.
Perhaps the native scout did catch it. I didn't see whether or not they walked by him explicitly, but
maybe
it looks like Boneng is...
was a decoy.
Decoy. He's the... Like, look at me, I'm doing weird stuff down here. Like, pay no attention to
distracts him from the... Perhaps, maybe this Warhawk goes up unscouted and is, potentially something that is, really, really game-breaking for Boneng.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, France is still doing everything he needs to be able to deflect. Like, even if France had scouted this, France would probably be doing this exact same thing. He's starting with a stable, gives him the flexibility to, age up if he wants to. And if he scouts this, or when he sees the pressure coming, he can still just ship 700 wood, drop a barracks, and be completely safe. I mean, the scariest thing is if, like, something like 6 Pumas and, like, a whole bunch of siege units and anti-cav comes out really, really early on from the Aztec player, and then you've got Minutemen and villagers to deal with that. So it's not like it's going to be lights out, game over, you're dead. You'll have to waste your Minutemen. You definitely won't be able to age up, but I mean, Mitoe's probably not going to be able to age up regardless. And then he just transitions into being okay. So
and I think France definitely a very safe civ, especially with the Coureur de Bois, going to be completely okay. But actually, we're not going to be seeing any insane pressure from Boneng, having sent 3 villagers followed by 5 villagers in the colonial age. Doesn't look like he wants to stack up this aggression with military shipments. Is playing it safe with the 5 vills. 10 Mace Holton though do come out, but at his town centre, definitely not where he wants them. He certainly wants them on the front. Perhaps did not change that war hut just in time. But actually, this is the first sort of scouting. Oh, there it is. This is he sees it for the first time.
Oh, crap. Like, I can't actually get out here to
and there's the two barracks.
Immediately.
Straight down. But, you know, that probably would have happened anyway because of the 700 wood. But certainly what he needs to. And obviously the appropriate response there. Oh, dear. Not so good. The 5 pumas popping out right on top of the cavalry. Fortunately, though, they haven't been snared by the looks of it, but certainly taking a lot more damage than they, truly like to. Look how much damage one poke does. That times 5 multiplier. They're stopping for just a moment. Looks like they're going to lose potentially up to, sort of 2.5, maybe 3 cavalry units because of that.
Yeah. One thing I do want to point out, though, about the pathing that Mitoe took there, his barracks were under construction, and had he run directly back to his town with those cavalry and lured the pumas back to his town center, those pumas would have seen the barracks halfway in construction and would have easily knocked down one of them. So, yeah, he loses some of his HP on his SR by running to the south. At the same time, he did buy time for his barracks to get up, which probably in the long run is going to be more important in the grand scheme of things.
Absolutely. But still, the cavalry going down is not what he wanted.
Definitely not good. Yeah.
That's true. Perhaps, but still, yeah, the barracks are up. But is this perhaps an overreaction, having sent 8 crossbowmen as well? Certainly doesn't need them just yet because there is no pressure right on top of him. Anticipates that he might need them since Boneng, playing Aztec, which can field a lot of units quite quickly, especially with these efficient sort of 10 and 9 Mace Halton shipments. But it hasn't been that super aggressive start, having started with 5 Vils.
But imagine if he hadn't sent those down and the 9 Mace Halton came out, like he would just be completely overwhelmed by this push right here. So I mean, it's definitely a smart thing that he sent them.
Perhaps, but I'm not necessarily sure when his next shipment will arrive. But perhaps he could have gotten away with sending something before them.
Yeah, he maybe could have sent something like, the thing is, like, what else do you even send? Like, you know you're staying in Age 2. You know you're going to be fighting a long Age 2 fight. You can't send really, like, 700 coin and, like, try and age up. I guess you could send 700 coin and just use it to train cavalry, but at the same time, probably just the immediateness of the units is far better.
Plus, and if those 8 crossbowmen weren't there to begin with, looks Boneng may have just gone in and started sieging the barracks. So the presence of the crossbows alone was enough to stop a fight from sort of happening. And obviously, it looks like he wants to follow up with 3 cav here. Looks like this was the appropriate decision.
Yeah, and likely the 3 Hussar were going to come as the next card anyways, just to help bolster his army population, and so getting the 8 crossbows out of the way now while you had the chances.
We do have a fight though, cavalry getting pretty close to those pumas, certainly not the side he wants to be on, with this gold mine in the way and the barracks on the other side. Those Mace Halton are pretty safe, really. It looks like it's going to be tough for those cavalry to get near them. And obviously they really do not want to get near the Pumas, which do an absolutely staggering amount of damage. Lots of units up close and personal with the crossbowman here. Looks like he's just going to A-move and go for it.
Yeah, and he definitely can at this point. Good split by the Pumas, getting some of them back off to the side of the cavalry. And Mitoe is desperately running out of resources at this point. He doesn't have a lot of resources left. And so all Boneng needs to do is just continue to keep the pressure up. And as long as he's able to keep the pressure up, we can see CDB are being forced to be brought into this fight. And that's definitely not something that you want as the French player.
No, truly not. Those things need to be gathered in resources. They are certainly good fighters, but only when being used as defensively. And at that, only when they're basically right next to the fight and really don't have to move. Looks like they're going to start gathering from this coin mine straight away, and I think that is the correct thing to do. Doesn't really need them in the fight right now. Looks like taking a bit of extra damage unnecessarily from sieging that war hut, but has quickly returned to fighting Boneng's units. 5 pop of the Coyote runners do come out, and that looks like it's going to be enough to sort of clean up these crossbowmen. All the cavalry going down to the Pumas, though there are no Pumas left, but equally doesn't need any more Pumas. There are no cavalry remaining. And it looks like Boneng in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, and this is the point where, like I said, all Boneng has to do is continue this pressure. Like, as long as he's continuing this pressure, look how few resources remain for Mitoe. Like, soon that hunt is going to run out. Soon this hunt is going to run out. And then just look at the hunt skew. Like, moving forward from that point forward, like, his next hunts are way out here. And if Boneng can keep up the pressure and continue to keep it dialed up for here, like, the next 3 to 5 minutes, those hunts run out, and all of a sudden Mitoe can't train. He just can't train units whatsoever. Like, he's in a really bad spot. So as long as he continues this trade and continues this control, he's looking to be in a really good position, setting himself up for a really nice position in about 5 minutes.
Absolutely, at this point, is controlling the map, or at least has sort of the presence, the military presence to control the map and prevent sort of these future hunt spots. And as you say, as they do run out, there really won't be any resources and no more military units from Mitoe, and that really could just put it into the game. There, he said, Mitoe, here's the clock. You're on a clock. Yep. You got to make something happen before your hunts run out. And I think Mitoe is absolutely aware of that. Most likely gearing up for a push out. 600 wood, arriving there, perhaps going to use that to fund the crossbow, extra military units. Just really needs to pull as much together as he can in a short space of time. 700 coin coming as well. Perhaps extra cavalry and possibly muskets as well from that. And those, of course, will be reinforcing this army here that's taking the fight. Looks like it is go time for him. Has a reasonably sized army, since Boneng has slowed down to send 3 warrior priests, though, having said that, he has finished sending all of his military unit shipments. But at this point, is looking okay, evenly matched, I would say.
And here comes the tricky little Aztec war chief could come in here and help tank some damage. Yep. Moving his way in and coming. Well. Oh, and look at the Jaguar Prowler Knights getting popped in there.
Oh
as
wow,
well.
I didn't even notice those. Those things extra damage versus the cavalry, and I think that's what he managed to get them doing. Bringing his
this is just a big cluster, honestly. Like it's hard to really tell. You can see Mitoe pushed out with a couple of CDBs there, tanking a little bit of damage as well. And it looks like he's going to be able to break the contain. We can see that Boneng has essentially given up this position, has moved back, is creating a new war hunt back here.
Slightly back.
And that's going to be really, really good for him. Certainly is going to lose.
Look at this. 5 coyotes do pop out of the existing war hut. Of course, those are quite vulnerable. Tries to get them away so he can put them somewhere and stockpile them up. But Mitoe, identifying that they only have really one place to go, or forces them sort of into this direction, and potentially can sort of trap these. And that's going to be a really nice pickup if he can do that. But they have stopped. Maybe he can do it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the best case scenario for these coyotes is like killing a couple of these hussar. As you said, they're dead to rights, and he does pick up 1 hussar for it, so not a complete waste. And at the same time, like Mitoe's still, he's still a bit on the clock. Like he probably bought himself like another 2 or 3 minutes. He kind of secures this hunt a little bit. He also secures the hunt that Boneng has been working away on here, but. Still, like on the clock, Boneng still has quite a bit more resources on his half of the map left, and Mitoe needs to not get complacent. He needs to continue to push forward here. This is his time to potentially, win the game, and he needs to not get complacent with his units because, the second that he stops training units and stops pushing forward to break this contain, he could very quickly find himself in a bad situation once again. As we can see, not floating a lot of food, not having a lot of resources, and in the Aztec player, certainly, 42 villagers, basically full warrior priests. It's not like Aztec sacrificed his economy to get to this position, so still has to be very careful with how he moves forward from here.
That is true, absolutely. But at this point, losing his second war hut, I did feel like perhaps it was a little far forward, but equally is, as you mentioned, has this economy, 43 villages with a crazy amount of war priests, and certainly the attack dance, the war dance, whatever it is going to be very useful once he does get an army up and running. But at this point, Boneng doesn't have an army, but certainly has the resources and the means to create one. Stacking 1,000 food there, 300 wood.
But he's also buying himself a little bit of time with these coyotes running around here to the south side of the map as well. We can see that Mitoe has basically tasked all of his cavalry with cutting these off and trying to clean them up. And, ooh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even... How does he have skirmishers? Oh my god, Mitoe has, he's sent team early skirmishers as a card.
Oh, unbelievable. Yeah, at 14-11.
I was like, how... I was so confused. I saw the skirmishers. I'm like, wow. How did he sneak an age up? I just looked at your resources and you had 86 food. There's no way you got aged up. And Surely he didn't actually get aged up.
Oh, looks like Boneng is going for the age up. Those 600 coin has arrived. Hasn't spent any of that food and still stockpiling it. And this is exactly the resources he kind of wants to get the age up in queue. But with this giant army of Mitoe approaching, that is potentially the wrong decision. He needs to be making military units to, not die to the incoming pressure. Certainly getting up and getting the tech advantage is good, but I don't necessarily think he's going to be able to get away with it. Certainly the remains of his army and his sort of war priest being taken off here. Villages, escaping just slightly to the west, is it? The left-hand side of that.
Yeah.
I don't know, this is looking tough.
At the same time, there's not a lot of siege potential in Mito's army. There's like 6 muskets or something in there. It's not like there's a huge amount of siege. So he probably will get aged up, but like you mentioned, I don't think he'll just have enough time to actually send anything once he gets aged up. The war huts, the houses, the town center are going to buy him some time, but I don't think it'll be quite enough in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. I think you're right. I mean, there isn't a lot of siege potential, as you said, but still, it looks like there's enough to bring down some of these buildings. And without a fire pit, those warrior priests effectively useless, especially if they can't dance.
You might as well
fight. Won't be able to train anything, and really shipments on their own aren't going to help because 1, they don't bring any composition, and 2, they need to be stacked with other units to really do anything. You don't have Minutemen desperately building another war hut. This isn't looking too good.
He's like, get up, get up, get up.
Oh,
get up.
it goes up, but he loses to all the builders.
The last villager with his dying breath managed to get that bad boy up.
Oh dear, Boneng, can he pull it off? I'm not too certain of this time. But what do you think of early skirmishes? It seems like an interesting way to add to your composition. Like it means you don't have to waste sort of wood on making crossbows, which are, sort of inferior to skirmishes. You just send a card, whilst you're sort of, playing this long colonial game, you've been contained up. You don't have to age up and spend all of those resources just to add to them, so you now have access to skirmishes. Yes, they're weaker, they're not veteran, they're not shadow tech, but you do equally have this counter unit that is often very, very useful.
I would have just preferred to see the Cav HP card come, honestly. Like, at that point, like, skirmishers aren't really what you need. You just need some tankability from your front line, and the Cav HP card would have done that. Oh, Skull Knights! If gone unseen, those things will do...
Absolutely massive damage, 25, area 2. They are absolutely brutal, especially with 400 HP effectively, but they are noticed. Mitoe not going to let those tear havoc. But actually, all those units so grouped up in that one area, they took a lot of damage from a single swing, but really not going to be enough. 3 Skull Knights plus, a couple of warriors.
Unfortunately for Boneng, not going to be quite enough. He does probably have a shipment sending right now. Could be a couple more Skull Knights, but we can just take a look at his villager count. It's plummeted over the past couple minutes. He's down to 32 villagers. Mitoe up to 42 CDB, so certainly sitting with a very comfortable lead in terms of just sheer economic presence.
Skull Knights do arrive as well, though getting up close and personal with these skirmishes, going to do lots of damage. Does actually nicely take out a group there, but Mitoe with the appropriate response, using stagger mode, splitting his units up, creating more spacing between the units so the area damage is nullified, and easily dispatching those Skull Knights.
Strangely enough, like it seems like Boneng's he's right on the edge of holding. Like he's so close to holding. Mitoe has taken a lot of damage from these warriors.
Is he war dancing? Is that what's going on?
He's doing the warrior dance too.
Of course. Obviously there are warriors on the board. Yeah, but those things are actually surprisingly good. They're 200 HP,
they're really good.
26 ranged attack. The issue is, usually if your town center is under siege, you're not going to be able to dance because your town center is under siege.
Yeah.
So it doesn't help. But actually, surprisingly able to dance with this fire pit in the back there. Has he stabilized? I mean, using the warrior priest, so it's really, in the long run, this is
it's desperate. Like he may not be forced
to
resign. Like he's not dead,
yeah.
But he's dead for all intents and purposes. He's 100% dead. He's half the economy of his opponent, more than half. But he doesn't have a shipment yet available to him. We can see he's just working up to his next shipment, and he's just lost the only.
Going down though. Wow.
He's just lost the only advantage that he had, which was those warrior priests. So certainly not in a good position here. Mitoe maybe could have tried to age up a little bit earlier in this. Instead of these extra 10 skirmishers, I would have preferred to see those, resources sunk into aging up at this point, but it doesn't really matter. I don't think we can see he's dropping the whole TP line with his next card. He's got stuff like economic theory coming in, so certainly still improving his economy in that way. And the clock is just pretty much in his favor at this point. All he's got to do is just continue to identify where Boneng is gathering resources and just continue to harass those spots with his ranged units. He should be perfectly fine.
Should be, absolutely. But Boneng managed to repel the pressure, won the battle, but will not most likely win the war.
Wait a minute.
Unfortunately.
What happened here?
60 wood treasure.
I could have swore that was the wood treasure that Mitoe was taking, like, at minute number 1 in this game.
It was about there, I think.
Oh, was it? Okay.
But that looks like a second one that nobody else picked up. Strange to see it just sitting there with no guys. Certainly a nice, easy pickup, 60 wood there. But wow, 2 town centers coming down from Boneng here. From the a player who needs to make military units to stabilize and sort of get back in the game, claim some resource locations. He is not doing that. He's spending his wood on town centers, which seems really strange, but actually might be sort of the winning play, so to speak. What will potentially win you the game. You need to catch up in terms of economy, get ahead, and just pray that he doesn't find them or just leads you to it, and hopefully, you get... If he made units, that, it's going to help him live a bit longer, but it might not end up winning him the game. Certainly, this is going to lose him pretty quick if he finds it, but, if he gets away with this... If he gets away with it, then could be makes him look like a genius.
Boneng is basically doing the equivalence of like the PR7, like hide villagers in the corner and then like tell your opponent that like you're gonna go get a snack, and then he's like, well, I'm gonna go get a snack too, and then like he gives you like 20 minutes to like boom in the corner or something like that. That's what he's hoping for right now. That maybe Mitoe like
he might get away with it though. These have not been scouted. They have not been seen at all. These 2 town centers, and obviously. But Mitoe has no way of knowing there are 2 extra towns, and it's not like it tells you like there is on trading posts. Though does see these elite coyote runners, and perhaps we'll go in that direction. Certainly will follow them, maybe.
Yeah, Mitoe doesn't actually have any anti-cav on the map right now. Like, he's got pure ranged units, and so these coyote runners, despite the fact that they're severely outnumbered, are actually like the right unit.
What does that even do? Temple of Zutajection Totec support. You get 11 coyote runners by the looks of it. And 20% increase to all action damages.
It boosts them quite severely.
Wow, makes them pretty strong. We do, however, see 3 cuirassiers joining the fray, and no doubt in his queue he will have anti-cavalry. That is not the case. No anti-cavalry being trained just yet. Does more cuirassiers and skirmishers. If Boneng manages to, continue making coyote runners, could be good. I don't know. There are so many Mitoe units there that it just seems unlikely. And these town centers have been spotted. It looks like the comeback mechanic is not there.
It's dead. This is the point where Mitoe's operating under the principle that I've cited before, where sometimes you just have like way more stuff than your opponent. It doesn't matter what stuff you have, because you just have like 10 times the amount of stuff, and it just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Although big raid coming in here from Boneng. Gonna be able to kill quite a few C2Bs.
That's a huge raid. Nicely done. And actually some villagers on the gold mine there as well. But, Mitoe unlikely to have those kills. He certainly has noticed the one on the food and bringing his units in to respond to that. If they do get in combat, these cuirassiers, they will, of course, have to fight due to the snare effect. But it looks like he's going to get away with it.
He needs about 6 more raids like that.
Oh, here we go. We have the cuirassiers from the other side. Maybe you can get the sandwich to happen. Doesn't look like it. Looks like Boneng managing to get away here. Oh, does get in combat. Does send 1 back. There's so many cuirassiers. I think cuirassiers with the area damage do really quite
they
well.
would wreck that. Yeah, they'll wreck that hard.
Even with the 20% extra hand attack.
I don't know how Boneng has done it, but he's up to 44 villagers. Like, where did this food come from that he's got these coyotes and this amount of villagers back? Like, I'm actually baffled as to how this happened.
How he's still in the game.
Yeah.
Or to be fair, he's not really in the game.
No.
He's going to lose these town centers, and those coyote runners can't really deal with any fight here. But certainly, he did manage to make a lot of villagers quite quickly. Did have 3 TCs, but still.
It's impressive nonetheless. It's not impressive oh, he's gonna win the game. It's impressive that he even got back to a situation where we're even considering that it's even plausible that he's still playing the game. I mean, like I said, I would have resigned 10 minutes ago, but Boneng, like, he just keeps finding ways to make the game interesting, and that's going to be it. The final stand.
That is the end of the game, though. Boneng taking his second loss in this series with the this time the Aztecs. Looked like he was in a strong position at the beginning of the game, but the counter push from Mitoe did take back the map, and then perhaps one wrong decision. Boneng going up to the next stage, though that is a playstyle decision, I suppose, more so than it is a strategy decision.
The one thing that I dislike about what Boneng did this game is he did 3 villagers, 5 villagers, and then military unit shipments. And I think the more standard and more stable approach to doing that kind of a build is to do 3 villagers, 700 wood, 5 villagers, and then military shipments. It does slow down your pressure a little bit because you're slipping in that extra 700 wood card. But I think it improves your infrastructure, allows you to get up like a second war hut really early in the game to help control those resources out in the front side of your opponent's base. And skipping that 700 wood feels to me like you're negating that fact. Like the whole purpose of this build is to contain your opponent and make sure that he runs out of resources and then isn't able to gather, which is a very strong idea and a very strong way to play the matchup. But by cutting that 700 wood and not establishing the infrastructure quite as heavily out front of your opponent's base, I feel like you're kind of forfeiting a little bit of that playstyle. So maybe could have slipped 700 wood in there a little bit earlier and established some more infrastructure, would have found a little bit more success with it.
I think you're right, yeah. But, yeah, you think about it, 700 wood is an absolutely incredible amount of villager seconds.
It's a ridiculous card.
Immediately get. If you work that out, considering you gather 1 wood every I think it's 0.5 wood per second or something like that. It's ridiculous. 5 villagers take a long time to pay that back. So in that very early portion of the game, those resource cards, especially the wood ones, do represent an absolutely huge advantage.
Yeah.
That is the end of the game. The next one coming up just about now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to game number 3 in this best of 7 series between Mitoe and Boneng. 2 losses to Boneng. The score is 2 points to 0 in, of course, Mitoe's favor. So, going into our third game, Boneng taking perhaps one of the more stereotypically stronger civilizations, certainly one that has been banned from competitive play in the summer tournament and the spring tournament hosted by ESO community. Iroquois get a bad rap, I think, but here in Smackdown they are not banned at all. We're certainly going to be allowed to see them being played. And Iroquois off to a nice early start, grabbing himself the extra scout, the Travois, doing a bit of scouting, doesn't quite need that house just yet. Has lots of wood, and traditionally they do like to build a trading post, but that's quite a far away, so maybe Mongolia isn't quite so good for civs like Iroquois and Ottoman, among other civs that like to build the TP. But anyway, the cow race has begun. Let's take a look at our opponent here, Mitoe, playing as India, a particularly good civ on Mongolia, due to all these extra cows. We'll see how many each player does get. I've got my economy tab open right now. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I love leaving the eco tab open on Mongolia for like a really long time. Usually, like, I keep it open for a little bit, and then like as soon as either the first shipment comes or like the first like market tech or something comes, I swing it over to that tab. But on this particular map, it's always very beneficial to leave it on this tab for a very long time early in the game, just because those cows are so influential.
And holy crap, Mitoe has 9 of them.
Yeah, he's got 9. Oh dear. He's gotten himself an insane advantage, and part of that is due to the fact that the Euro player still wanted to go up here and build a trading post. We did see that he swung his Travois down to the south side of the map. That is in fact the only one that he has picked up this far. His Mongolian scout has not been successful in picking up any. He did pick up 1 cow. He split a cow from down south with Mitoe, and that's always something that I struggle with on this map. Civs that traditionally go with trade post openings, the likes of Ottoman, Euro, stuff like that, can maybe suffer a little bit on this map due to the fact that if they want to still get that trading post advantage, that they have to cut something else. And interesting decision here from Boneng. Look at, he's building the farm with his Travois.
Oh, that is interesting. It looks like he's collected wood for a house, and is actually going to go with the 400 wood farm Value, boys.
Yeah. And to be fair, like, that also gives you the XP of a farm building. So it's not like it's just like a place to fatten your yaks. It also gives you a fairly substantial amount of XP early in the game. In fact, it used to be the standard before trading posts got cut down to that 200 wood start to build the farm with the Iroquois Travois, just because it gave you so much XP. It's basically like half a TP drop or something like that. It's a very substantial amount of XP, and it used to just be standard to slam down your Travois like right at the start of the game after your initial scouting, just to get that farm and get that XP and get your first shipment that much quicker.
On a map with livestock, it is even better though. Oh,
Sure.
I thought these were cows. I thought 2 cows over here gonna get stolen by Mitoe's scout. No, they're treasure guardians.
Look at that panther. What's that panther doing in Mongolia? And the lion, for that matter. Like, what are they doing?
Wow.
I'm pretty sure those animals don't belong out here, right?
I don't think so either, though. I don't want to.
My geography skills aren't good enough to know.
I don't want to say that this is wrong because I mean it feels wrong. We probably sound silly for saying that it's that for not outright. I don't know. Let's. Yeah.
Let's like pretend like that didn't happen.
Yeah, let's get
neither
back.
one of us actually knows.
Let's do AOE 3. We're good at that, right? But yeah, it's also not only is it the sort of best one for XP and is it good for on this map for the cows. But equally, it's the most expensive building that you can build, except from a plantation. But you can't build that in Age 1 anyway, I believe. But yeah. Okay, so that has happened. But we do now have
and we do have to like at least mention the fact that this map is really low hunt, and at some point like you'll probably run out of safe hunts to gather from. And that does provide you, although it is very slow, it does provide you with an infinite food source in your base that is 100% defendable. I just want to get that out of the way as well.
That is true, absolutely. Perhaps that, thinking about putting that at the very back then is an even better spot for it. But yeah, that's absolutely true. But by the looks of it, Colonial Age underway in full force for, of course, Boneng, a civilization, the Iroquois, that gets up particularly quickly. His first shipment will be here any moment now, no doubt. But a little bit of a conflict in the north of the map here. These two sort of scouts going at it. Looks like obviously Mitoe has managed to get away, but equally Smoke has done a fair few shots. 5 villagers coming out from Boneng. That is his first shipment. Looks like he's not going to be going with this aggressive sort of stereotypical play style. Perhaps going to play a more eco-heavy focus, certainly with 5 villages, and maybe the farm influenced that decision as well. Mitoe has just got up to the next stage, has gone up with the Agra Fort, and is now certainly getting his upgrades underway. Civil Servants has been done, and we'll see what he's up to.
Yeah, I do love the fact that Boneng didn't send the Forcania horsemen, just due to the fact that if you think about what India's going to have, he's likely going to age with the Agra Fort, which is going to give him an extra place to hide villagers, going to help protect his coin mine, going to help protect all of his hunts, and it gives you those 2 sepoy right on age up. And so just when those Forcania would be showing up, you've got 2 powerful anti-cav that would be there ready and willing to be able to deal with those Forcania, combined with any amounts of sentries or anything like that, would just eat up your 4 cav shipment and put you really far behind. And so
we
instead,
do have a treasure steal going on. Indian monk who heals, qualified to build in hand combat or something. I'm not quite sure how he picks it up. Stable wagon.
That's actually huge. That's so big that he got that. Like that's gonna save so much of his resources.
I've never seen that treasure before. What?
Yeah. It spawns a lot on this map.
Does it?
Yeah.
I've never noticed it.
And that's actually going to be huge for Boneng as well. Just due to the fact that look at like how hard he's boomed behind this as well. Like he's
3 builds, 5 builds, 4 builds,
4 builds,
3 trading
posts,
gonna
and
get the
free
upgrade
stable.
Already here. That trade cart and a free stable. As you mentioned,
stable.
plus the farm. The farm.
And let's not forget the things that make Eero annoying and difficult to deal with for a lot of civs. Those unit shipments are still going to be coming. They're still definitely going to be coming. They're just going to be coming at a later point to help reinforce the army. Here
there
we can see that's beginning already.
That thing is insane. That shipment. These things worth 175 resources each. A substantial portion of that is wood. you get 4 of them. It's by far better than 3 cavalry. This thing is now out potentially going to be doing some raiding with it. Certainly can do that, and certainly it adds to his composition. It's a very nice army. The Iroquois, it's just occurred to me, got a free war hut and a free stable this game. Holy cow.
And soon to be 4 trading posts with the trade cart upgrade already completed. So
what was Mitoe thinking here?
Yeah, he's definitely thinking like, oh crap. That's one thing that he's thinking.
Was he?
Fortunately for him though, he hasn't overreacted. Like I think for a lot of people, it would be like, oh my god, like the Eero player is aging fast and he's got a forward war hut. I need to send 5 sepoys so I don't die. But look at his card order. He's still gone with something very, very safe. So
and I think,
something that's good for him.
Yeah, and is now putting on a little bit of pressure here with his Gurkha. His Cucumber's doing a bit of damage there. Certainly got the Zambarax, maybe get a free shot. Anyway, just poking in a bit. But yes, it's nice to see, hasn't overreacted. And I think, Boneng could get away with that in against other players. You just play this style as Iroquois, and your opponent just straight up doesn't respond to it properly.
Yeah.
And you just get a free win.
I'm still very concerned when the 7 Aena and 6 Aena do come. Like they're going to come likely as the next 2 shipments, and when those unit shipments come, and then he pushes, his army is going to be so insane that it's going to be very difficult to deal with still.
Yeah, that is true. Oh my god, that 4 trading route, that represents so many resources.
So many resources.
He's got it up before the 9-minute mark as well.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
And it's not like Mitoe can just like push out and deal with it either, right? Like there's a contained setup right outside his base. He doesn't have the means to go up there and deal with that. Like a lot of the time when you overcommit to a trading route like that, you just won't have any military units. Absolutely not the case for Eero at this point in the game. Look at how many military units he has. In fact, he has a significant military advantage at this point, and still has managed to
45 units versus 26. It is absolutely brutal. But at this point, these Cucumbers managing to get a few, using their range advantage at least on these units here. Looks like Mitoe doing what he needs to do to remain competitive, but once the sort of the final shipment arrives, the next batch of unit is whatever it is Boneng is waiting for. It will be go time, and this is looking very, very scary. That is an absolutely humongous. He has, well, he had 50 units. His opponent had 25. It was literally, I was going to say 100% more, but now it's no longer true.
Yeah, and I have to assume that it looks like here he's going to go. I was going to assume he would wait for one more card, but it looks like he's going to choose to go right now. And he does catch the Gurkhas in a pretty bad spot with his Condas as well, so he's going to be able to do a lot of damage to those. And Diana just sitting in the back doing a lot of damage. More Condas coming in from the north here as well.
Conservative tactics hitting in at the right moment, just as the fight starts. So his opponent, may not be aware that that is even there now that the fight has actually began. But here,
Yeah, at the same time, like, India's doing a pretty good job of controlling his units. He did lose a lot of his Gurkhas right at the start there, though. He does have his Zams sitting in the backs doing a lot of damage. He does call his Minutemen. He is alive. Like, he didn't just die to that timing push. The scary thing is he's got to not die, like, to 2 more pushes like that as well, right? Because there's still the 7 Aena. There's still, like, the 6 Aena. There's still more upgrades coming. And the War Chief is still alive as well, so his bonus can't be negated as well.
True, but look at this, 4 Sours coming in, that shipment there, and these things could be quite, prove quite good against the Aena, but actually not going to fully engage right there. Perhaps he's anticipating a shipment, perhaps has more on the way, or perhaps it's just, I was going to say wanting to just sit here and boom, but actually he needs to do something about it.
He needs to do something. He's on a bit of a clock. We can see he's already had to start extending out to the north side of the map a little bit. Yeah. And we can't forget that those trading posts are still just sitting there collecting away, like freely at this point, completely unpunished. And the longer that continues to happen, the worse things get here for Mitoe. He still just doesn't have the composition to push in. Zams are not going to be what he needs to deal with these Aena, and as a result of that, he's just not going to be able to enforce a really hard engagement. And here comes another shipment. Here comes the 7 Aena.
Yep, and Boneng just sits here. The longer this game goes on, the happier he is.
Oh, he caught them.
They could have gone down, though they are still quite far away from home. There's a lot of cavalry there. Could catch a few of them. Certainly not something Boneng, really wanted, but ultimately should be okay. Are we going to see a full-on fight here, though, at the moment? Just a bit of a skirmish, sort of following those units back in, and whilst each other's units are in range, just, making use of the shot whilst kiting back. Just a skirmish with, the skirmisher-type units.
Yeah, it's so hard to engage around all these these trees that are just kind of sprawl out in front of this war hut. It's very difficult to get the Sours in a position where they can adequately deal damage to the Anna ball. If he tries to overcommit his Sours in there, likely what ends up happening is he just gets caught up in the trees. The Kanya engage him quite nicely, and he just ends up losing all of his Sours. We can see he doesn't have, up until this moment, any of the camel upgrade cards sent. So those are paper thin. They do a lot of damage to the range type units, but at the same time they die incredibly quickly with their fairly low HP. So that is something he has to be very careful with.
Yeah, that's true. This is a nice spot, perhaps, for the war hut. Perhaps why he put it there, sort of up in this tree section of the map, as opposed to sort of the clearer section down there. Maybe something he took into consideration. But here, yeah, Mitoe looks like he's trying to make something happen, walking around with his units, trying to, pick up the small advantages, picking up a unit here and there, sieging that longhouse. It looks like
here comes another infantry hit points card, and this is going to be go time. Conservative tactics, the war chief, and that infantry HP bonus all stacking up. Going to make for a very strong army. We can see the Kanya doing a good job of tanking, and just so many Anna. They do so much damage. Oh my god, just look at that infantry ball. It's just not dying. There's no way to deal with it.
There's so many in the back. They're just chucking out the damage.
How do you deal with that? Like, they're a unit that costs only 100 food, and they have 158 HP. Like, it's ridiculous how many hit points those Anna have right now.
Yeah, with these 2 upgrades. It's actually 8 more than your standard musketeer. And,
and they're a ranged unit that only costs 100 food. Like, they don't even cost anything. They're basically free at this point.
And we missed him eating up all his cows. That certainly provided a nice power spike. I'm not sure when he ate those, but certainly would have used those to spam more Aena before pushing in here. It looks like, though, economy is fairly even in terms of villages, but Boneng's score just pulling ahead absolutely. Due to these trading posts, and Zuta flares the mini-map here. We see Mitoe, lots of villagers on the front here, certainly running out of food. Needs to find food somewhere. Totally misses it, though. They are not going to be...
He's going up there to deal with this raid. Like, he wants to stop the counter raid here.
I see, that's where he's off to.
So many Sours up there. Fortunately for him, he does have a war hut already created up there, so he's going to be able to retreat to that. But at the same time, Mitoe is going to be able to pick off quite a few of these Kanyas, which is going to definitely buy him some more time, allow him to continue to gather along the map. And as we often see on Mongolia, the focus of the game and the focus of the pressure is swinging towards the top side of the map, the resource-heavy side of the map, the place where all the trading posts are, and I think we'll continue to see that moving forward here, as is often the case on this map. Just the focus of the game shifting back towards the top side of the map, because at the end of the day, both players need resources.
Oh god, where are the hunts though? They're basically all eaten up. There's only a couple left. There is, however, a full herd in Boneng's base. I shouldn't be going on that long.
Yeah. I wonder if he's got that scouted.
I don't know if he necessarily does. He's just left it there.
And let's not forget.
Oh, 10 villages
he's
on
got the farm. Like, that's so good for him. Like, there's no way that Mitoe has the resources to start dropping rice paddies right now, whereas his opponent is able to, put some. It gathers incredibly slow, but hey, let's face the facts. Food is better than no food.
That is true, but to be fair, it's not actually relevant at the moment because he does still have, enough berry bushes to last a while, and certainly another hunt. But definitely, if the villages are right there on the coin mine, you just need a bit of extra food. Maybe that's why he's using it. You can just switch them back to the coin when he chooses to. Though that is unlikely as a civilization that doesn't use coin to train military units. But for whatever reason, yes, he has the farm, and that's certainly, as Zutajection is going to play an important factor a bit later on in the game. But here, right now, Mitoe, I don't know if it's too late. Like, they're both, and Boneng on his way up to the next age.
Yeah.
It looks like he's going to get away with that quite comfortably.
Yeah. And look at the up there. Like, his infantry is unstoppable. He's got conservative tactics. He's got infantry HP and infantry attack all sent now. He's soon going to have veterancy upgrades, tack on another 15% HP, another 15% attack. And then he's going to start mixing in like shadow tech units as well. He's going to start having forest prowlers and stuff like that, which is going to be absolutely ridiculous. His infantry.
With these upgrades, holy crap, holy cow! Yep, they'll be very good.
His infantry like strength is just through the roof right now. He doesn't care that he's losing some of these TPs up here because it's just buying him enough time to get aged up, get those upgrades, and make what will likely be the final push for him.
Yeah, and it looks like he's getting these units in position to attack the Mitoe's base directly. Is almost aged up, and no doubt, have those veterancy affected. Well, they're not their elite upgrades, aren't they? But it's the same thing. Have them the units in position for the upgrades to take effect on whilst ready in combat. And here, this is actually protecting the rest of his trade route because he's going to repair one here, and it forces Mitoe to sort of retreat. And now the pressure is on. He is up to the next stage, and Mitoe is, not got the aging queue, and at this point now does not want to age. He wants to make military units.
And here come the improvements as well. Elite Aeonas is being researched as we speak. Elite Tomahawks shortly behind it as well, so just needs to buy himself another couple seconds for those upgrades to finish, and then he can full-on engage here with absolutely no regrets. But despite that fact, he's still just straight up engaging. He knows he's really strong, and those upgrades are going to hit right in the middle of this fight, and it's just going to send the strength of his infantry ball even higher.
Yeah, but there are a lot of units here from Mitoe. It looks like he's pulled enough together. Certainly hasn't spent the resources on aging in the same way that Boneng is, but perhaps more importantly, Boneng has got the resources ready for an industrial age.
Oh my god, I didn't even realize that.
Maybe that's the reason there are not quite as many units as Boneng should be having in this fight. I was like thinking, everything Zuta's saying is true. Why is it not actually happening on the board? I think that's the reason.
He's got 4,000 resources unspent right now. That's
right. So we're all spouting theory here, but actually it's not matching up with the game. But that's why.
He's on his way up. Oh, maybe he wants to sneak in the age 4 upgrade too, just for good measures.
Yeah, he's not sure these units can take this fight. Yeah. They need more upgrades.
Look at the Tomahawk HP,
247. Monstrous.
Oh my god, it's just ridiculous. 208 HP on an Aeona, like on a ranged unit,
Fierce warriors.
Yeah, unbelievable. And those things have 19 ranged attacks, so it's not like they're just like throwing wet noodles at you either. And I wonder what Mitoe's thinking right now. Like he knows he's been very far behind. I mean, he's still down in score a little bit. Like, he has to know Boneng is aging, right? Like, Boneng has this reputation as being a player who just ages on a whim, and he has to know that, like, Boneng is aging. Like, he can't suspect that, like, he's pulled back to even and he's perfectly fine just being in age 2, right? Like, he has to know that something's up.
But why is he aging? I don't understand. Yeah. Like, maybe, Boning's like, gotta get up to Fortress for the cannons. Oh, wait, I can't make falconets. I'll just go industrial for light cannons.
Yeah. Light cannons are going to be really good here.
They are really strong. But, well, and even against exactly what Might is making, they're strong for that reason. But, what do you think of aging? I know, like, it is a Boneng style, but it feels unnecessary. It feels like he's losing more infrastructure and just more things than he really needed to. The Fortress Age perhaps was enough with those extra units. Perhaps make units and not age up. Perhaps
he could have just had like 30 forest prowlers instead, right? He could have shipped 8 forest prowlers and 20.
At this point, he's risking the longevity of his game unnecessarily, perhaps, when he could be comfortably quite far ahead. He's up now. Look at the buildings. Wow, industrial age Iroquois buildings.
Yep. How often do we see those? Not very often.
I don't think. I'm thinking like this is really new to me. Obviously I've seen it before, but it feels new. This is not part of the game you get to experience very often. And there are a lot of units in Mitoe's base. Has Boneng made the wrong decision? Is he going to be able to stabilize here? He's currently sending an Iroquois raiding party, and on top of that, if he can gather the food for it, send the next one, Iroquois war it's and then I think there's another one on top of that.
And he's got the upgrades as well. And I mean, like, look, he's also got the H3 infantry combat as well. His infantry are just absolute monster. Does he actually have champion tomahawks? Research.
He does.
Oh my
Holy crap. 36 ranged attack, 327 HP with all of these upgrades.
These are ridiculous. Although,
I feel like just yeah, and here it is. We've got Iroquois War Party on the way. It's going to be 10 extra tomahawks, and even I feel like just these units here might be able to clear this up.
Like, they're just not dying. It's going to be so frustrating for Mitoe. Like, they won't die. They've got so many HP. So he did get the War Chief down, which definitely helps. But look at those tomahawks, just absolute monsters.
Yeah, and here important to note that he is focusing. Well, he should be at least, and he was focusing the cucumbers, trying to get them down quickly. Those are what count as his army here.
16 more of them, because why the hell not? Like, who other than Boneng has 16 tomahawks in their standard Euro deck? Very few people is the answer to that question. Very few people.
There are 16 tomahawks, 4 cannons as well as available in there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, he's managed to stabilize. Looks like perhaps it might not have been the. Either way, his decision has led to him
likely
being
a
far
victory
ahead to still being far ahead, and as you say, a victory most likely. Looks like though now adding down more farms, the food has truly run out, and actually the transition to rice paddies and farms is truly real at this point. Both players not really going to be adding in that many more units. Taking a look at Boneng's resources is quite low. Is at this point in time. Focusing on getting sort of upgrades. Both players have been upgrading their farms, and both players will be continuing to do that.
One thing I do like is that Mitoe did manage to sneak in enough resources to age up. It's very important that he does do so, because if he wants any chance whatsoever in dealing with this huge, massive tomahawks, he needs to have your army, and fortunately for him, he will be able to have that tech unlocked for him now pushing towards the third age. So,
yes. The wonder with the 8 vills on it. Wow, I want to get up super quick to the next stage.
Yeah.
Do you know how that interaction works? By the way, obviously it builds on itself. You don't need villages on it, and 1 villager makes it build substantially quicker. But 2 villages is a bit quicker. I have a feeling it's similar to how Age of Mythology works with 4 heavy cannons.
Yeah.
We'll get back on that in a bit. We're looking at this. This is more important.
The cannons moving out across the map. The way that it works, or the way that it's always worked in my mind, I know these numbers aren't 100% correct, but in general, for each villager you put on extra, it's 10 seconds off. That's like a rough approximation. So
is it?
Yeah. So I mean, it takes 2 minutes with nothing on it. That number I know is 100%. And I know with 8 villagers, it goes as fast as the fast age up politician, which is 40 seconds, and you can have a maximum of 8 on there. So I mean, that difference is 80 seconds. So it's about 10. I don't think that number is like 100% accurate, but the way that you can view it is it's about 10 seconds for each extra villager you put on.
Yep, but Mitoe now up to the Fortress Age does go up with the Mahout. One of them though on its own isn't going to be particularly useful, especially against all these champion tomahawks, which obviously are effectively musketeers, will counter cavalry. 4 light cannons with a 70 bombard attack, area 2 multiplied by 2 versus infantry, and by 3 versus these buildings. These things, 4 of them. Going to tear a hole right through, well, anything really that comes near him. And adequate defense. There's absolutely no way Mitoe is going to be able to get close to those without something like siege elephants. And it's this, as a result of that, these 4 heavy cannons are going to be very, very tough to deal with.
God damn, those cannons are strong. I didn't ever realize light cannons had
2 siege elephants do pop out, though a nice snipe does pick up one of the cannons pretty quickly in here. Now going to return for the second shot. The second cannon going to go down, nice and easily dispatched. It now bringing these tomahawks forward to deal with the siege elephants, but actually that leaves the cannons at the back exposed. Unfortunately, though, nothing there to punish him for that just yet, but Disciplined Zambarex coming in for, perhaps a hand damage, taking advantage of the fact that they were there. But nicely done. Siege elephants taking out some of these cannons here. Certainly not as much of a threat, but still 2 of them, and plus the amount of tomahawks is still going to be very tough. 4 sours coming in from the back, but nice response from Boneng, stopping him from getting too close there. But that 1 siege elephant still being quite pesky. Does pick up all of the cannons nicely dispatched. Something that looked very, very tough to deal with. Does so quite well. And as a result of that, it looks like he's still, in a reasonable spot here. Mitoe has managed to repel the pressure.
Yeah, and with the disciplined Gurkhas as well, also being upgraded, actually having some sort of an adequate response to the champion Tomahawks, it's at the very least going to force Boneng into like making a decision as to what he's going to do next. He does have 2,000 coin stockpile. I'm very curious as to what he's going to use that for. I mean, Boneng's kind of running out of steam. I mean, he's not like out of steam just yet. Certainly at this point, he has 67 villagers. His eco is still decent, but Mitoe equally, has completely made his transition to rice paddies. He's at 72 villagers himself. He's caught up slightly in age, and he's in an okay position. I mean,
definitely.
It's not like he's not dead, and he's even securing, what remains of the natural resources out here in the middle of the map. So, like we said it, we questioned the age up and whether or not that was giving Mitoe too much time. It looked like it was still going to pay off and still be okay. But this is back to the point where it's you're starting to wonder, like, is he going to run out of steam? Is he going to have enough to actually finish this game? Like, is he going to have just enough stuff? And obviously India, as the game progresses, turns into a monster. Like, India is by far one of the strongest, like mid-game, mid-late-ish game civs in Supremacy. Yeah. And whether or not Boneng can like actually deal with the strength of the mid-game India, mid-ish late-game India, will be questionable.
That is true, but not only is India strong, I think this game here, particularly dealing with those cannons, anticipating for field or light cannons, getting the elephants ready, having the the cavalry come in from behind, taking. I think it highlights that Mitoe is a very skilled player and has come a long way and will have a very, very good tournament result. Yeah. Not only in the previous tournament, but likely in this one as well. I think Mitoe certainly quite skilled, and at this point still 100 points down, but by the looks of it, taking control of the game, or did. We do see, however, 5 more light cannons entering the fray, and these do now have the field cannon upgrade. They are tankier and stronger. Not an upgrade you see very often in research.
This is what I love about watching Boneng games. Like, how many times do you get to watch Iroquois field cannons, like, in a real game? Like,
I didn't know that upgrade existed, honestly.
I knew it existed just because, like, every cannon has, some sort of upgrade.
An upgrade.
But I didn't know, like, it was...
Well, I guess I obviously knew it was there, but you don't see
You don't
it
expect
ever. Oh, here comes the siege elephant!
He's doing such a good job of, like, just poking in with that siege elephant.
Yeah,
if he can poke in again and, like, take another shot off of it.
This is going to be super hard to deal with, though, especially now Boneng,
look at how many
lost all his cannons before, he's perhaps going to be more aware. There's a lot of Zams. And, Zams by no means countered by Tomahawks. Only in hand combat are they countered by Tomahawks. And here, just going to use them to just force down the field cannon super quick. Just waltz them down. And now that there's only 2 left...
He's done it. Mitoe's won. Mitoe's won. He can't lose from here. Unbelievable. He played this so well. Wow. Unbelievable.
Wow. Nicely done from Mitoe.
Look at that hero
still behind in terms of score.
Yeah, doesn't matter, though. Like, he's won, certainly. Although Boneng has so many resources still. I don't know. But, like, that siege elephant has been controlled so well this entire game. He's used it to continually focus down the light cannons. He's done such a good job of controlling his Zams, getting them to positions where they can tank, buying that siege elephant time to poke down the field cannons, using his Gurkhas to, establish range dominance time after time. Doing really unbelievable.
5 more! 5 more! Where are they being made?
I don't actually know where they're coming
Jesus. from. I'm looking. There's a. You can make them at the war hut. Is that what you can do? I guess it is.
No, you need to make an artillery foundry. I don't actually know where those 5 came from. They just rolled in from the south side of my vision. And I didn't.
Yeah, that's where they came from for me. I'm like, where did you even get them from?
Where did
At the end of the day, this doesn't really mean anything. Those cannons being dispatched again, having lost so many cannons this game.
just the conga line of field cannons continuing to come back time after time.
God, I didn't I was like, how did they come out of a war hut? That makes no sense.
How did they come from the south side of the map? That's what I don't
that's why
get.
I suggested the war hut, but like obviously they're not made there.
Yeah.
So. Oh wow. But okay, is he still in this?
Yeah, of course. He's got 86 villages. He's got an insane eco. He's got 2 TPs. He's sending resources. Like, he's in the 4th age. Mito's still in the 3rd age. He's got champion upgrades. He's still 100% in this. The only thing that he is fighting against...
food and wood bank.
Yeah, he's got loads of resources. The only thing he is fighting against is the fact that Mito's Civ does outscale him quite hard. And so India, the longer the game goes, continues to get better and better and better. Also, one other thing I want to point out, Mitoe has sent some really good cards to scale into the late game. He sent sustainable agriculture, food silos, royal mint. He sent all of the upgrades that he needs to keep his eco rolling to continue to push that advantage.
Jackets.
Yeah.
Has just arrived.
Yeah. How many times do you see that card sent? It's really good. For people who don't know, Royal Green Jackets is essentially counter-infantry rifling for Gurkhas. It's basically gives you a higher multiplier against heavy infantry. So these Gurkhas are going to be able to dispatch the Tomahawks even more quickly than they were already doing so.
Yeah. Wow, that's a lot of amber eggs again.
That's a lot of field cannons as well.
Yep. Oh wow, that's something.
That's so many field cannons. How
they are obliterating this infrastructure. He's gonna have to rebuild quite a lot of stuff in the back. A barracks now going up there at castle as well. Let's take a look at his queue and see what he has.
He's gotta have
siege elephants.
Yeah, they have to.
Absolutely, he needs more of those. They worked from earlier. They're gonna have to do some work again. But Zambarex here, in terms of cost efficiency versus Champion Tomahawks, not the best, but equally they're not explicitly countered, meaning they can get close to these field
cannons. Here they are. Here's the siege elephants going to be able to do work. Oh,
yep. Yeah. Here they come, one going down right now, and Boneng getting his field cannons out there. An interesting point to note is that actually these field cannons, I don't think you can put them in. You don't put them in like setup and.
No, they're always move and shoot.
They just go.
Yep.
They're more mobile, perhaps. They
Similarly, though, siege elephants operate in the same mechanic. Like, there's no setup animation. They're always ready to shoot. Unfortunately, Mitoe does have a little bit of his army cut out here. The field cannon's basically tracking down these Gurkhas and just raining down hell from above.
Oh, wow. Yeah, these Zambarex not really being able to get anywhere near.
Yeah.
Just sitting there in the back.
And unfortunately, the siege elephant's cut off a little bit by a couple of the Tomahawks here into the north side. Actually going to force all the Minutemen to be called just to be able to deal with that little bit of champion Tomahawks that were hunting down his siege elephants. So, really good pickup there from Boneng. Catching
Holy crap. Boneng has just clicked up to the Imperial Age. He is on his way up for the Imperial Cannons.
I don't think we've ever seen a game reach Imperial Age in Saturday Smackdown.
Oh my goodness. What is he doing?
He's got the resources, obviously.
Yeah,
he's at 98 villagers. Up until he, started losing some of these cannons to siege elephants, he was at max population. He was completely maxed out. Like, his army potential was as strong as it's going to get. It's not like he's short on resources. He's obviously going to be able to continue to, send the 1,500 infinite resource shipment.
That's true. That's pretty good, that card.
Yeah. Well, especially if you're consistently going to be playing in the 4th age. Oh, there goes the last siege elephant. And I think Mitoe knows his time in this game is limited at this point.
But we were like, oh, he's gonna win. He can't lose from here.
I thought so too. I don't know.
And here we are.
Magic of Boneng.
Boneng is absolutely outrageous. Like, also these Tomahawks, we have to remember, are outrageously upgraded. Yeah. Very, very efficient. Champion Tomahawks.
They're about to have the Age 5 upgrade on them.
Yeah, and I think Mitoe is going to see that Imperial Age, and Boneng just ends the game right there. There's no way you'll be able to compete with the Imperial upgrades. They give you plus 50% on top of your stats, and as soon as the upgrade hits, if you can't match that with your own Imperial upgrade, you cannot win any more fights. Yeah. And in Age of Empires 3, the Imperial Age is intended has a stalemate breaker, and that is exactly
what it did. Yeah. Unbelievable! I can't believe that Boneng actually managed to win.
Holy
like I thought
India
had won.
Yeah, India losing to Iroquois on his own a non-aggressive Iroquois on their home map.
Oh man, I loved that game so much.
That was Age of Empires 3. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. We do have more coming up very, very soon, so do stay tuned. But any concluding thoughts on that game, Zuta?
I'm just so happy right now.
That was wonderful. Oh, that was great. That was great.
That's it. That's all I got. I'm just so happy right now.
Just taking a look through these graphs. Yes. Let's get into the next one. And maybe that industrial age decision was not the right one for Boneng. Unfortunately, though, that is what he enjoys doing.
And that's why we love watching him play. Let's be honest. We invite Boneng to play because we know we're going to get something crazy like this. Yeah. It's so entertaining to watch.
Yep, and that does bring the score up to 2-1 in Mitoe's favor. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to game number 4, I believe, in this best of 7 series between Mitoe and Boneng. That was one hell of a game we just watched. Can we see another here? Potentially, because we do have a water map in store. Boneng, the water guy. Well, not quite the water boy, but certainly the water guy.
The king of the water.
The king of the water. Playing as India. There is potential for some water antics, absolutely. We'll see what he's up to, but yes, Boneng in the south of the map in the colour blue, playing as India. And there's a funny buzzing in my headset. I'm not quite sure if that was just the noise. Yes.
Is it me?
No, I think it was some sort of on the Yucatan you get birds chirping at you and you hover over. I feel like this map probably has something similar. I did wonder what it was though. This isn't my normal headset. Oh, it's back. It's definitely the map.
Maybe it's a helicopter.
Maybe.
How strange would that be? Just like a helicopter flew across the middle of the map.
Oh, it'd be almost as interesting as a flying purple hippo.
Yeah.
That's an interesting cheat. Wavoo. Alright, but in the north of the map in the colour teal, we do have Mitoe playing as the Aztec. Zuta mentioned not a civ that Mitoe plays a whole lot of, potentially. Maybe he has been recently in light of the tournament. Certainly could be something he's been practicing with. Maybe he thinks it's good on this particular map. We'll see what he has in mind as this game progresses. But opening with a market house and a fire pit. That 300 would start. There it is. But Aztecs versus Boneng's India, specifically Boneng's India. What do you think, Zuta?
I'm very curious to see what actually ends up happening here. I mean, picking Aztec does have the implications that it's good at fighting water. He could have picked it just due to the fact that he wants to potentially fight against Boneng's water presence.
True.
Boneng, anytime he gets the chance to play on a water map, usually does some sort of very water heavy build, and so having a civ that can fight on water very good is something that he could be looking towards. We can already see Boneng he's already doing something a bit strange here. He hasn't even started gathering animals at all. In fact, still has all of his food crates on the ground as well, just now gathering those up. So we could see him do something like ship the dock wagon card as his first card, and then do some couple fishing boats opening or something. So
it's about to arrive any second now. We're going to see exactly what that is. Mitoe opening with 3 villages, which is fairly normal. Certainly a very solid shipment, generates a lot of resources over the course of the game. I am still waiting. I had expected Boneng's shipment to have arrived by now. Potentially won't send anything.
Aztec has the dancing, right? So he's going to have quite a bit more XP. No, it's
a wood trickle.
Wood trickle.
Yeah.
We're both so disappointed. We just did something normal.
There it is. Distributivism.
Interestingly enough, the thing that I didn't notice was he was saving up that wood for that extra trading post. So that's usually something we don't see India do really early on in the game, but is something interestingly enough that I have seen Boneng do before. So not completely out of the norm for him, and we'll have to see whether or not that ends up paying off for him. We can also see in the middle of the map here, it looks like Mitoe is starting to work on the Settler treasure as well, which is going to be a nice little pickup for him. So.
Definitely got all 3 of those blowgunners except the one that always just died. They on in-hand combat. Interesting to note, these have 5 attack damage in hand combat and 30 in range. Like if they're in hand combat, you can take these out pretty easily. It does take a while, but it is, you know, fairly easy, especially if your explorer happens to be able to convert treasure guardians. But that villager going to pay dividends in the long run. That thing is generating 100 food every 2 minutes, every minute, something like that. It's absolutely crazy over the course of the game. Really nice pickup.
Plus, it also gives them a jumping off point to maybe, you know, not have to send any villagers forward to build a war hut or something like that. You know, it saves a bunch of villager seconds in that way as well.
That's true. Where is he going? I'm not quite sure. Going to the dock. Oh, I see. We're going to lay down a wall in the middle of the map here. Not a bad decision at all. Certainly, you know, this map does have that choke point. You've got this sort of pond in the center here, and that does give you the opportunity to create a wall through the middle and create a very large rust distance.
Oh yes,
around the long way. But here is the dock.
We got dueling docks going up, an Agar fort sitting right on the coast. Like, get ready for another long one. We've even got walls coming up in the middle of the map. Like, we are. Mitoe is fully engaged in the water combat, and Boneng, of course, going to match him straight on.
Absolutely. Both players adding in walls, looking to play more defensively here because of the docks they're adding in, investing quite heavily. You know, an entire card, each player on the water, and of course, you know how many resources those are worth. 700 wood potentially, or any other colonial age shipment that gives you so much an advantage the moment it hits here. But schooners arriving for the Aztec player, and the first fishing boat hits the water from Mitoe there. East Indianman, equally, you know, a shipment has been invested here. 700 wood coming out for Boneng. There it is. The water, for Mitoe. The water boom is real.
Yeah, and at the same, like, both players are just, like, cutting so many corners right now. Like, look at Mitoe. He's just throwing down, like, a trading post as well. He's playing as greedy as humanly possible. And to be perfectly fair, it's 5 minutes and 30 seconds, and he's noticed his opponent hasn't aged up yet. So he's perfectly safe to do so because, I mean, like, if your opponent hasn't aged up and you have a wall segment in the middle of the map, you are under zero pressure to do anything early in the game. And Mitoe just booming to his fullest capacity as a result.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely an excellent decision there. Certainly, if you can get away with it, absolutely do it. And he knows he can get away with it, and that is absolutely what he's going to do. Going to match, or even perhaps be stronger than Boneng's boom. Which is interesting, because normally Boneng is the one who does the outrageous boom and doesn't make any military units for 15 minutes.
When do you think we'll see the first military unit trained in this game? I mean, we have Sepoys out on the map because they come with the Agar fort.
But they don't count as train units, right? I reckon it's going to be pretty late. Both players are playing this sort of greedy style. I'm even going to go for a 15-minute. I'm going to say it. Just going to go out with it.
Like, Mitoe hasn't even dropped down a military structure at this point. Like, he doesn't have the capacity to actually train a military unit yet.
Perhaps not that long. Maybe, I don't know.
I'm going to say it's going to be at least 9 minutes.
Yeah. That is a lot shorter than what I was saying. But we have seen it before, Boneng.
Well, we've seen some ridiculous...
3 caravels have arrived, sending 2, making 1. Boneng pressuring his opponent right off the bat, playing the sort of anti-Boneng style. This is what I'd expect somebody to do versus Boneng. But here we have Boneng starting to siege down his opponent's dock with 3 caravels. I guess actually the first military unit was made at about the 6-minute 30 mark, being a caravel. Holy cow.
If you count that as a military unit, I guess. The thing is here, this is going to be pretty awkward, pretty quick for Mitoe. He's going to have to call an audible here really early on. Even look at the Incan Humincan is in there as well. That warrior could just like start sieging on the war hut. Like, why is he not?
Wow, a 4th caravel enters the fray. This is, and he's gone full water with European cannons.
Yeah.
Looks like Boneng is now extremely far ahead on water. Even going to deny this war hut. Holy cow, and there's obviously, he can't get too close. He's not going to be able to take out this house in the market. But certainly, all the fish are now his. There is zero way that Mitoe can get back on onto the water here. And normally in Age of Empires 3, you can hold a section of the water because your town center is so close, and obviously outpost. That war hut that was going up, that would have made these caravels, made it so hard for them to really stop Boneng or Mitoe from gathering too many fish, since, war huts are so strong against boats. But actually just straight up denies the war hut before it is even built with such a fast influx of boats.
Yeah, the one thing I do question, though, is whether or not Boneng has overcommitted here on the water. We can see he's trained 2 additional caravels. That's a lot of resources. He's shipped 2 caravels. That's a lot of resources. He shipped European cannons, which is, the equivalence of 700 resources. And at the same time, Mitoe has a full stagecoach TP line set up, ready to go. He's got, what is going to be a second market coming up. He's got market upgrades already researched. I wonder if he just didn't realize. Oh, he built a market, and then he built a second market, but he hasn't gotten any upgrades out of them. I guess he's just gonna.
Wait, who broke two?
Mitoe's just got 2 markets, and they're right on top of each other.
2 markets. Whoops.
Just a little bit of a mistake there, but at the same time, basically what I'm getting down to is, it's not like Boneng's got an insane land mass or anything behind this at the same time. For the time being, he's, really sitting on nuts for land presence. And if Mitoe can pull together enough military units to kind of start applying some pressure, maybe sneak up an age up or something like that, there's the potential that Boneng could get a little bit caught out of position just due to the fact that he doesn't have any land presence whatsoever yet at this point.
That's absolutely true, and that could prove to be very, very difficult for him if he wants to collect any of the natural resources that aren't immediately next to his town center, and obviously those are going to disappear fairly fast. He does, however, have a patch of trees in the back that looks like it's going to be lasting for some time, and maybe his lack of land presence is going to be made up by the fact that he has got the offshore support, potentially from his 4 caravels that are upgraded from his home city. He may be able to, get away with that, but still, Mitoe not going to want to fight right next to the coast, and isn't really going to let him. Well, it is probably too smart to let that happen. We'll see what happens.
I mean, with the fish out on the map, though, and with the positioning of this coin mine, Boneng can essentially hold off an indefinite number of units for a very long time just by using his caravels to provide that offshore support that you were mentioning, and just continuing to gather coin from this coin mine and fish from the sea. He's going to have... He can basically prolong this game for a very long time, despite the fact that there are 46 military units out here for Mitoe out on the map.
But that wall, look how much much time that is actually. Mitoe actually seizing that down. It is, sort of directly in the way, and the long way around is kind of awkward. But the amount of time that's for him is really good. And is potentially enough to get, some sort of land presence that you combine with the boats next to the ocean. Because he can just pop these units right into the caravel, and those coyote runners, the fact that they're good against the cucumbers is completely nullified.
Yeah. The one thing that concerns me, though, is like I mentioned, he's just got no way to contest the shore here, Boneng. Like, he's got obviously a far superior army, but with the Agrifort, the town center, the consulate, everything kind of just like wedged up here on the right side of his base. It's still, he's got to wait for a very long time. He's basically got to wait for that coin mine to run out. And even then, he still probably needs to mount some sort of counter water push just so that he can get back out, and start denying the resources there. It's just so tough to, actually crack the shell that Boneng has thrown up around himself.
Yeah. That is true.
Doing his best, though. I mean, he is hitting the right spots. He's hitting the soft points. We can see he's running around to the trading post, taking the low-hanging fruit, trying to deny as many resources as possible. But at the same time, look at how many resources Boneng has unspent. He is going to have a lot of units pouring out here very, very soon, and I don't know. It's just going to be really tough to ever get in here in the foreseeable future.
Yeah, but I don't know. There's, how long do these resources last for? Are there, and the question is, how many whales are there? Are there any? I don't think there are. There are zero.
No.
Wait, there are.
Yeah, there's loads of whales. There's what, 5, 6 of them. So,
there's plenty of whales. So I couldn't see any
Yeah.
of them moving around. You know, they come out of the water every so often. You can see with the different coloured dots on the minimap there. Has access to food, coin, plenty of wood. Yeah, he's just gonna sit in his base all day long, and be perfectly okay for the.
He probably actually has to wait for this stand of trees to run out. Like that's probably the first resource patch that Boneng's really gonna like lack. And here we can see Wonder coming up, going to be progressing towards the next stage, and things are just going to continue to get more and more sketchy here for Mitoe as Boneng is going to be able to progress towards the next stage and just continues to throw up even more defenses in his base.
He's throwing up a shell for his turtle. Absolutely, a turtle with a shell.
Yeah.
And these Gurkhas, there's not many of them, but behind a wall they're going to be extra effective, and even if those units do get anywhere near the Gurkhas and threaten them, he just walks back to the coast where his town centre, you know, his opponent will be behind his town centre, near his military buildings where new units will pop out, near the Agrifort, and more importantly, near the caravels as well. Does call the Irregulars here. Looks like he wants to take the fight there. Of course, Wonder maybe a little bit threatened, potentially. Not really, but...
Oh, and European Minutemen as well. Nice call there. Going to be able to deal with these coyotes. And they are getting dangerously close to being in range of these super-powered caravels here as well.
Yeah.
One shot does go off. Although at the
cannons.
same time, he's got so many more units than Boneng. Like, Boneng just doesn't have any units. But yeah, look, another caravel coming in. Going to provide some more offshore support. Does lose a couple villagers here, which is going to be a nice pickup for Mitoe. Going to be able to deal a little bit of damage to that land economy. But at the same time, still, Boneng has 44 villagers combined. Still has 2 trading posts. And, oh, this is an interesting, cheeky little play here by Mitoe. Going to be picking up another trading post for himself, which is something I quite like.
Especially with the stagecoach on it, that's definitely a good idea to be doing that there.
Yep.
And I don't know, Mitoe doing everything he needs to do, but equally he just can't get near the Boneng's economy.
But the important thing here, look at what Mitoe has managed to get up. He has managed to sneak in a war hut and 2 docks, so he's going to be able to deal with likely one of those caravels just with the war huts. And now with the 2 docks established, now this is where Boneng like actually has to make a decision. We can see that, he doesn't have that much left in his base. He's lost a lot of stuff. He brought back the caravels, weakened his shore support here.
Whoa, a monastery.
We'll get to that in a second, but now he's got to actually start defending this, which is like his most exposed resource location from the canoe presence, and that's going to be a little bit more tricky moving forwards.
Canoes certainly coming out thick and fast. Very effective unit there. And looks like Mitoe going to start the counter push on the water. Well, the take back of the water, I suppose.
Yep.
3 hussars have arrived, doing some work. Lots, very tanky, those Ottoman hussars, but they have now gone down. And that's the end
Look
of them.
at the canoe count. Look at the canoe count, just continuing to grow. Mitoe's going to hide it very nicely from the fishing ships to have the surprise effect from his opponent. And when those do come out and those do start pushing out across the map, Boneng's eco is going to come to a screeching halt. As we mentioned, his eco is only strong while he maintains this water presence, and if this water presence gets disrupted, he has no
it's
land
go
presence.
time! Here we go. Plenty of canoe. I'm not sure.
Frigate gets sent. That's going to go down so quickly, though, to those canoes.
The problem with this, though, is your broadside attack, your like super fast attack, really doesn't do anything when you're focusing a unit that has 3 HP remaining after you shoot it. Like the fact that it's like it has 3 HP left after you like do one massive attack. Like these things are so like they effectively have 440 HP because they take 2 shots to die.
Yeah, they're really, really good. And we can see the caravels getting cut down very, very quickly, taking some damage from the war huts as well. We can see the canoes, and this is just, why Aztec and why native civs are so good in general on the water, just because those canoes are so efficient at trading. They're basically like Strolly when it comes to like water fighting, right? They're just so efficient in the manner that they fight on water. And now with this huge water presence, we can see Boneng already preemptively garrisoning all of his fishing boats inside the dock. But that in itself is not going to really help that much. And now we can see, look at what Boneng has left in his base. Just this stand of trees. He's basically not gathering resources anymore. And despite the fact that, he's got a lot of wood, a decent amount of food stockpiled from gathering on the water here, he's not going to have any coin. His coin lane has run out, and he's still under pressure from the coyotes here. So it's not like it's just a trivial fact to get out here to this next coin lane. Mitoe has continued to keep the pressure up, and he's going to be able to continue that pressure. And as long as this pressure is maintained, and the fishing boats are not allowed to continue to gather resources, Mitoe, I think, is going to find himself in a nice position moving forward.
Oh, here we go, though. 3 Mahouts plus 3 Elmete. Holy crap, where did he get the resources for those? These things cost
oh my god, the villagers!
400 gold each. Yeah, and tons of villagers out on the front here. Looks like, Mitoe looking pretty good with his economy. Boning only a couple units ahead, and, those units now effectively not able to gather since a lot of them are Mitoe's taking back water presses. All these villages going to go down, and this map, there's not very many units here, but they're all extremely strong. Elmete with 1,000 hit points, 40 damage times 3 versus infantry. They're going to make short work of pretty much anything that Mitoe throws at him. Though the coyote runners don't take the multiplier, that is worth noting. But the Mahouts, the area damage, definitely going to be useful. And just the fact that these units are so strong individually should be fine.
Mitoe taking back control of the water, though, does get the dock down, does push back the fishing ships. Important to note, there is a second frigate and 2 caravels still remaining. Also important to note, we do have the upgrade from European cannons still in effect on those Indian warships, so they are going to be super strong. And, maybe more importantly, we do have 2 town centers being established along the coast for Boneng, which is going to provide a huge, massive presence over there on the coast. Going to be allowing him to continue to gather for quite some time. And combined with that nice big raid that he's got, we can see, villager count-wise, 60 versus 37, sitting in a pretty okay spot.
Catching up quite nicely. The town center is an excellent thing to have there. 75 anti-ship attack. It just, along this entire stretch of coast now, he has full control. Town center's chucking out all that damage. They just cannot be stopped.
Mitoe's resigned.
Mitoe says GG right there. Boneng, the water expert. I thought for a moment that Mitoe's counter push was enough.
I thought it was as well. I actually thought he was in a really good position, and then, the 3 Elmete and the couple Mahouts popped out, and were able to regain some of that land presence, just enough so that he was able to stabilize back in his base and continue to focus on getting out, the water dominance, and it allowed him to get up the town centers, allowed him to reassert the water dominance, and combined with the frigates, the 2 caravels, and the European cannons, pushed Mitoe right back, despite the fact that canoes are really, really effective.
I guess it's just the lack of villages that Mitoe has as well, especially after that raid. Most of the sort of resources, natural resources gone, has started to construct his first farm there. And
Oh,
all standing.
Game number 2.
The score is now 2-2. Boneng clawing his way back in this best of 7. Holy cow! Let's take a look at the post game and then head on into the next game.
Resource is very, very close, but
it
is what you see. Yeah, look at the kill to loss though for Boneng, like 178 versus 76. His most made unit was 18 Gurkhas, which, to be fair, really didn't do that much. It was mostly the Elmete and the Mahouts that really pushed everything back there and restabilized for himself.
I mean, in terms of resources, 3 Elmete is about the same as 18 Gurkha.
Yeah.
It just doesnn't show, because 18 Gurkha is a bigger number. Wow. Well, that's the end of that one. Any concluding comments?
I'm just loving life right now. This is why we love watching Boneng play.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to game number 5 in this best of 7 series between Mitoe and Boneng. The score is currently 2-2. Mitoe taking the first 2 games, and Boneng clawing his way back 2 games from being 0 games, being 2-0 down. Absolutely. We have here the map, the bread and butter of Age of Empires 3, or perhaps what was considered maybe the bread and butter. Great Plains, a very popular map, one that's always seen a lot of play in Age of Empires 3. I think it's one of those iconic Age of Empires 3 maps. A very high hunt map, 2, well, at least on this version, 2 safe gold mines, and adequate trees, and obviously a safe trading post. And what I consider part of a standard map for me is those muskrat treasures as well. Access to the early coin for an easy hunting dogs. But here in the south of the map, in the color green, I mean, wow, never mind.
Are you colorblind, Interjection?
Well, I was looking at the grass.
Oh.
That's green.
Grass is kind of green.
Yeah,
That's fair.
I'll
give you that.
Yep. So playing in the color green, we do have Mitoe. He's playing as the British. They're laying down his first house. And not collecting any extra wood. Has no intentions of creating any other houses. Though he does find an 80 wood treasure right there. Perhaps that is exactly what he needs for his second house. And no doubt going to start going for that. And I would imagine as a result of that, won't bother collecting any extra wood. Can certainly use that to get his second manor house down and get that extra villager on the way. Really quite nice for the British civilization, but in the north of the map. In the color blue. Playing another civilization that likes to boom by building houses. We have Japan, Zuta's favorite.
Love this civ. For those of you who don't know, probably for the past year when I haven't like really been playing that much, when I do play, I basically play exclusively Japan. Like they've always been by far my most favorite civ, and just seeing them here makes me happy. Especially seeing them picking up the 140 food treasure makes me even happier.
Oh wow! What are the implications of this, Zuta?
Well, usually when you do some sort of consulate start with Japan's, you basically slow yourself down considerably, but that's not going to be so true. We can see that the Boneng is going to be able to have that extra little power spike early in the game, going to be able to drop down his Tsukuga Shrine nice and early, and as a result not going to waste any time getting his age up, and going to be up basically on par with when the British player will be aging. Which is going to be very nice for him moving forward. So definitely going to be an advantage in that regard. We can see like he's going to get a 10 bill age up here if he really wants to, and it looks like he does really want to, because that's what he's going to do. He's going to drop down his Tsukuga Shrine on that nice big juicy pack of hunts, and going to start transitioning into the second age lickety split, so that's going to be very nice for him. Going to have a really fast age up.
Looks like he doesn't even care about building it with a villager. He's going to let it build itself since it's down so early. The next villager in queue can resume creating villagers now that he has 100 more food. Obviously, he stopped for a bit since he laid down the wonder. You can just non-stop make villagers and still age up, but actually wanted to get that down nice and early, and definitely a good thing to do. British on the way up as well. Heading up to the next stage, has transitioned all of its villagers onto wood. It's very normal for both civilizations to want to collect, a sizable amount of wood during transition. Certainly want to throw down some extra houses. Of course, British get the extra villagers, and Japan get the factory effect, as we all know.
Kind of an interesting little interaction over here. The native scout has Count the Cherry Orchard out gathering, and it's going to slow him down. It's going to... No, I was going to say maybe he's going to be able to do some damage to it, but...
I've never seen it die, but I've seen, like, outpost wagons and stuff die, and it's like, one day it'll happen, and it'll be very, very,
It'll be very sad.
What do you think, though, of that? I guess, like, he wants to put the big shrine next to this hunt, which is unfortunately sort of walking away from his shrine. Hopefully that gets up before they all walk away. Oh, dear, here we go! At least they're not capybara, right? But he did build a shrine at his own base, just a singular one, and a lot of the time that sort of that sort of safe hunt is where you will put your Tsukuga Shrine.
So with Japan, there's kind of an interesting interaction with animals that they don't like to deherd, and so I think it's like it's not like a 100% sure thing for me. Like I don't actually know how it works. Like you'd have to actually like read into the map code probably to understand how it works. But I do know that when you put down a shrine near a large herd of animals, so say I put down like my first shrine right here, the rest of the animals won't wander as far because they'll like still be drawn into where those 4 that are attached to the shrine are, and so they won't actually leave. And so on a big herd of hunts like this, what I'll usually do is put down my first shrine like where basically right where I'm going to put my Tsukuga, and then as a result of that the animals all stay kind of close, and then you don't have this effect where they're kind of all just pushing away from the Tsukuga Shrine. They'll stay nice and close, and then that's a good way to ensure that you get 4 animals on your first shrine and 8 animals on your Tsukuga Shrine. So they are working their way over here, but
slowly,
he may only get like 3 or 4 of them instead of like a full 8, which is a sizable difference for Japan.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. Perhaps could have built that a little bit further out, but anticipating where those bison are going to walk is perhaps
difficult to say the least.
Yeah, equally they could just walk towards your town centre, which often does happen as well. But British has started the game with 700 wood that has arrived, of course, aged up with what was it, tower, I would believe. I'm not quite sure if that's true though. No, 500 food by the looks of it.
Yeah, and Mitoe just going to be playing a very basically boomy. Yeah, he's going to play a very boomy style here. He's going to try and get as many. He's going to get basically like 5 pikes out on the map to start challenging shrines right away, which is absolutely the right thing to do if you're not going to apply direct pressure to the base. And then from there, he's just going to follow it up with a very large, massive longbows and pikes and just try and brute force his way through Japan with some sort of timing. Japan's timing is a little bit slower in terms of just like raw power than Brits are. They don't get out quite as many units as the British player does, but subsequently their units are quite a bit stronger when they do actually get out. So Boneng's boom is going to be a little bit slower than the Brit players. But when it does arrive in full force, he's going to have slightly stronger units to deal with it as a result. So we can see Mitoe putting on a little bit of pressure now, forcing a couple of units to hide in the town center, and just poking down at these shrines with these 5 pikes.
Yeah, definitely not going to overcommit and send all the longbowmen in. That would be very, very silly. Just going to shoot a couple vills, keep Boneng on the edge, maybe pick up a villager. That'd be quite nice. And as you say, these pikemen roaming around the map, taking out a couple of shrines here and there. Not really anything Boneng can do about that right now until he gets a few more units out. And equally, these longbowmen in his base, he can't really send. Certainly, Boneng's units are going to have to deal with longbowmen.
Yeah, and one other thing that I really love about what Mitoe is doing here is we can see he's like even proactively like starting to like eat on some of these hunts. This is something that eventually Boneng is going to like want a shrine, and so the more of these hunts he can proactively eat, look at all the big herds of bison he's working in towards his base. The more of those hunts he can deny from Boneng, we can see like Boneng's out here looking for places with his scout to put down shrines. He's not finding anything because those hunts have basically been proactively herded towards Mitoe's base, and as a result of that, it's going to deny quite a bit of the shrine gathering that Boneng would be looking to have. So definitely like that, being aggressive with his longbowmen as well, and forcing the irregulars to be called here early in the game.
Yeah, nice. That's good. Definitely happy to see that. Can't stack them with the other units. They're less powerful on their own. Going to be pretty happy about that. Of course, now going to get his longbowmen out, let them whittle down. But that's an interesting point you bring up with the herding there. Certainly Japan cannot build on those ones in his towns you mentioned. And actually, the rest of the hunts are all stacked up in a very small area, sort of in the north of the map. All these shrines are going to be very locally found in one place, which makes it very easy for these, not only just these 5 pikes to get lots of shrines, but certainly later on in the game, if he wants to go clear up, the rest of the shrines.
Yeah, and maybe even more importantly, the remaining shrines that are going to be here are so close to Boneng's base. I mean, bouncing back and forth between this location and this location to apply pressure in 2 different spots, much easier than bouncing back and forth between this location and this location. Just the ability to keep your units active out on the map and actually doing something while the Japan player, is trying to continually juggle them between, the town center and the cherry orchards. Going to be much more easier to do that when you can actually bounce back and forth between places of value that are fairly close.
Yeah, but looks like 8 Yumi archers are going to hit the board right here. The first 5 have been created. We have 3 more in queue about to pop out. But all of these villagers, by the looks of it, have not managed to get in the town center. He seems to have walked in this direction to get away from the longbowmen. But actually, Mitoe identifying where they were going and is now sort of intercepted them. They cannot get into the town center to be protected, and they can't work.
Yeah,
they're not even useful. They can't even gather from hunts. They're gonna have to collect from these trees.
Spot. Just good build execution here from Mitoe. Being able to get a nice spam of units, being able to keep the 5 pike, and look at these pike. They're still just absolutely obliterating the shrine count over here. Boneng has to keep rebuilding them. We can see he's only at 150 shrine count, which isn't maxed out, isn't nearly as high as it could be. As it could be. So combine that with the fact that so many of Boneng's villagers have just been running around, not being able to gather for a large portion of this game. Mitoe finds himself in a very, very nice spot, working his way forward.
Look at that. There's an absolutely
huge amount of longbowmen here, and this is all he can muster: 5 from one Rex and 1 from the other. That's 6 Yumi Archer in addition to the 3 he already has. And look at them trying to escape. They obviously don't want to fight such a huge mass of longbowmen, but longbowmen have such a massive range. As these walk away, they're taking so much damage, and really, having just trained 6 extra longbow archers, where are they?
Yeah. The other thing that I want to point out is that Boneng kind of missed his 400 export timing, which is fairly important. Traditionally, the time that I kind of pushed back out and you're really able to find yourself stabilizing in a matchup like this is right when you hit that 400 export. You can immediately train your 7 Bestieros and use that combined with your military presence to kind of just push back out across the map. Unfortunately, he missed that time. You can see he does have the Bestieros training now, but he has them training, when he's like 65 export over. So he is going to be able to combine it with the 5 Ashigar shipment, which is going to help. But he doesn't really have any other additional units aside from that. And the Longbowmen are just going to continue to be able to rain down terror from above with their absolutely massive range and clean up the military presence that Boneng does have and continue just to assert their dominance on the map.
Yep, sitting here, denying those cherry orchards all this time, not letting a single villager gather from them. Well, actually, they're not even in the TC. They're like for some reason just over here gathering wood, which is really not very useful. I mean, what is Boneng gonna really make out of wood other than more shrines, which will just get sieged down by these pikes here, which have been doing so much work. The amount of resources they cost at the beginning compared to what they've performed over the game is really quite good. The shrines going down, denying the food gathering, and all the units that Boneng does manage to muster together so far have just been picked off as they sort of arrive. It's only now he's starting to stack them up as actually the archers are moving to a different location.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that he hasn't identified this as a very significant point of interest. At this point in the game, he could just run 20 pikes over there and siege that down. That's kind of one of the caveats of building it in a position like that. It's not super easy to defend, especially against some early pressure. And if, this muster of forces over here just ran in there, there's absolutely nothing keeping that up and back alive, aside from this one Yumi Archer back in his base. Irregulars have been called. He would be able to siege that down very, very quickly with his current forces.
Wow, this game has just been so brutal for Japan. He's just been behind the whole game. I'm not even sure. I don't even think he can stabilize at this point with no villagers gathering food. Well, he's got a few gathering food, but there are so many villagers just randomly around the map. These ones now returning to the home, but also these guys just walking around. It looks so hard for Boneng right here. Yeah,
and even more brutally, look at what's just come. He's now going to
5 cavalry have just arrived. And these archers.
And that's just nail in the coffin. If your infantry mass isn't big enough to deal with the cav when it comes, you don't really have time to transition if you're Boneng into some sort of Ashigara player or something like that. He needs to be able to transition into Ashinagi, and he's a really long ways off from transitioning into that.
Yeah.
I don't even think that Boneng really played this matchup too poorly. I mean, he could have done some things better early in the game. I wasn't super fond of his early build order, but he didn't really do anything inherently wrong. He missed his Bestiero timing a little bit, blah blah blah, whatever. It just showcases how hard Japan can struggle with some of these matchups civs like Brits and French, just the continued pressure. And to Mitoe's credit, he's done a very good job in just continuing the pressure, never relenting with allowing Japan to get up a bunch of shrines or anything like that. Japan is a very snowbally civ. If you do allow them to get out on the map, get all your shrines established, take away your next hunts, sure, you're going to struggle, but if you continue to apply pressure like Mitoe has in this game, Japan really struggles against this kind of playstyle, and we're seeing that right now.
Absolutely, we're seeing that right now. At this point, I don't know what Boneng can do. Probably gearing for an age up because it's Boneng.
Needs 600 coin ASAP. So
that's his plan, right? Age up and then stabilize. I don't know what Boneng can do here. Is basically the short story.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to lose the consulate. He's going to lose the town center. He's got some Ashigaras here that he's trying to raid with, okay, great, like he's killing a couple vills, but at the same time, like he's losing all of his wonders. His town center is next to go down. He's gonna lose all of his barracks. Even if he gets like 20 villas with all this raiding, just the infrastructure alone that he's losing is absolutely brutal.
I don't know. This is what can he do? Like, what does he actually need? He needs to find all of, like, okay, this is a good start. He's finding some villages here. He needs to kill these, but there's the counter raid is coming in. Like, I mean, he's probably just gonna straight up take that. I mean, like, actually, it's not too bad in terms of efficiency since you've got times 3.5. But there are so many cavalry there that it doesn't even matter. Yeah. Like, and once these go down, there's no more raiding. There's no way that Boneng can catch back up in terms of a sneaky raid and killing maybe something ridiculous like 25 villages or something like that. That's now impossible. Whoa, hold on a moment. Those cavalry are all dead.
Yeah,
wow,
but at the same time,
those.
Like he needed to be able to save his town center, because like having to well, I guess he's rebuilding his town center. What I was going to say is he needs to have somewhere to ship his 600 coin, because obviously aging up is what he's trying to do right here.
Actually is.
I mean, he like straight up is. He's definitely trying to age. But not having a town center, not having a place to ship your 600 coin means you're not going to be able to age. And even despite the fact that, I mean, he still needs, like, he doesn't have access to his berries anymore, probably means he needs to ship berries, like, as well before, like, he's able to actually send an age 3 card. Like, he's so far away from actually being able to, like, do any sort of stabilization. Is killing a couple more villagers here in the middle portion of the map. Likely going to lose those to the Minutemen.
Yeah. It's shut down his raiding potential,
yeah.
And it's like the only thing keeping him in this is the fact that that town center is undiscovered at this point. But I don't think that will remain the case for very long. Certainly, Mitoe, a good player, he'll be splitting his units up, looking for all of the remaining sort of stuff that Japan has, which is, firstly the shrines, but then his villages.
Yeah, well, and if nothing else, like, he'll swing down to this portion of the map because he has those 2 shrines at the very least scouted, and likely when he does swing down to that side of the map, he'll likely notice that these hunts are gathered around shrines as well. In the fog of the map, you can see, the positioning of the animals, and if you look at the fog of the map right here, that deer don't stand like that. Like they randomize themselves, right? Yep. They don't stand in little clusters like
neatly. That. It's like, I wonder why they're doing that. Oh, it must be a shrine.
There's obviously shrines there, and at some point he'll come down there to, like, siege those shrines, whether it's, a minute from now, 2 minutes from now, whatever, after he clears out this north side of the map. And then at that point, he discovers the Golden Pavilion, he discovers the town center, all the corresponding villagers, the scout, everything like that. Those all fall down, and at that point, Boneng probably just has to resign. So,
but what if Boneng gets up to the next stage, Zoo? What if he gets up, manages to get himself some cherry orchards, makes some flaming arrows out of his castle that looks like it's a barracks?
So, yeah, like, that's the thing, right? He just sunk all of that huge amount of food he had into aging, and now he just doesn't have any resources to train any units. I mean, he needs food. He's got his shrines gathering on food to the best that he can, but he's going to lose basically the rest of his shrines up here to the north side of the map. The villagers are not able to gather from any of the remaining hunts. It's not like he can just, like, gather from these hunts down here on the south side of the map, right? He has to send cherries at some point in order to be able to have a sustainable food income, and that's just not going to happen. Like, there's just not enough shipments. He doesn't have shipments available. It looks like he has sent another shipment. It probably is 2 cherry orchards, just because without cherry orchards, like, just doesn't get any resources whatsoever, and that's just going to slow him down even more into the things like you were mentioning that could potentially help him. Things like 2 flaming arrows or 8 Ashugara stuff, something that's going to help him stabilize in the 3rd age. Just not going to happen.
Wow, town center going down a console. I mean, fair enough. I mean, you've got so much wood. Yeah. Or he did. He had like 2k wood unspent. But here comes the first batch of British units. They have scouted the little mini base. Boneng being what I would, well, he's not being a troll, but this is a lot of the time.
Mini base.
Oh god! Oh, next the mini base is discovered. Let's build a new one. This is like PR5 sort of. I'm gonna hide around the map.
Just look at the minimap.
Oh,
Like,
this is
all
great.
of Mito's units are like zeroing in on the southern point. You can just see them. They're just like all working their way down here. It's
Press
just,
that
like,
hotkey that selects every unit and
Yeah.
right-click.
impending doom for the mini base down here. And certainly, I mean, he's just sunk all of his wood into like establishing this. He does have the veterancy upgrade for his Ashugars, which I mean, in itself is nice, but against basically like I don't know how many longbows does he have. Let's take a look at the actual number. If I can find the tab, 40 longbows. I mean, it's not like 10 upgraded Ashugars is going to be able to deal with that number of longbows. So.
The storm has arrived! Oh, Jesus, that's a lot of units. Boneng, show us what you can do. You've come this far. Can you create an adequate response to this? My instincts is no, and I don't really think it is possible, but I want to see it happen.
It would be so entertaining if he somehow, like, maybe Mitoe, like, accidentally deletes all his longbows or something like that. Like, that's about what it would take at this point. Even that, like, even if he deleted all of his longbows, Mitoe's aging up to the 3rd age, gonna have a 2 Falconet shipment, has enough resources to basically build 4 Falconets.
No, he's still in it. He's got a town center on the other side of the map. He's fine.
Yeah.
He can keep going. This game is it's not over.
What if you're one of these villagers over here, like, you're like cut off from the rest of your comrades, like, you don't know about, like, the living hell that all your brethren are suffering over here. You're just, like,
Look at this wall going.
Like,
It's like, oh, let's get in the town center, boys. It looks like the enemy's walling us in. That's what they're thinking.
a sad day for the Japanese people.
Yep, they came to conquest of the New World, the Great
Didn't work
Plains.
out.
No, it looks like the British got there first and stopped them.
I don't know that Japan was ever in the New World. Oh, here comes some more sentries. Here comes some more regulars.
Japan never went to the New World. It's so weird that this game like enables you to simulate Japan versus Britain in the Great Plains. Like, it's even weirder that you can play Iroquois versus Aztec on Mongolia. But alright.
Yes, because let's be honest. If there was one place that the Iroquois probably were never going to see the light of day of, it was most definitely Mongolia. Like, maybe aside from Antarctica. Like, that's a map that we need to make. Antarctica. It's just like a white snow map with absolutely nothing on it.
So,
like maybe coin mines or something.
You collect your only food source is fish and maybe polar bears or something.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
I don't know.
Look at the big
Oh,
walls.
it says GG on the minimap.
This is what happens when you have just like an opponent who refuses to resign.
But the game is still going. Like, Boneng still has only 100 points down at this point.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like an achievement nonetheless. Like, he's still fighting to the best of his ability. Like switching those units to hand combat and then back again. Like, he's still playing top level.
That's why I love it. That's why I love watching this guy play. Because, like as I mentioned in the first game, regardless of like how few units he has, he always plays the game out like to the best of his ability. Like,
And there it is. Boneng takes the game, or takes the GG, at the 23-minute 20 mark. I'm gonna give him a GG for that. Wow.
Mitoe up 3-2 now. Interestingly enough.
Yep, match point potential. Well, it is match point if he wins it, but certainly Boneng not out of this just yet. Still has he's still in a good spot for a best of 7.
Yeah, just needs to win runner, so he's still perfectly fine.
Just taking a look at the post game here, you can see how far ahead Mitoe actually was. Not only just in like the gap in resources gathered at the end of the game, but in the sense of how fast that gap was, growing larger.
Yeah. And we can see like at like 6 minutes is where Boneng really starts to fall behind. Like you can see the little spike up right after age 2 where they both send 700 wood and 600 wood. Those resources get gathered, and then the Japanese player just struggles to continue to gather resources, while the Brit player just plows ahead in terms of like actual efficiency gathering. And Boneng's just never able to stabilize. I think a piece of that is missing the bestiero timing, but a piece of that is just like in this particular matchup on a map where Brits has essentially infinite hunts early in the game. Brits are always going to be strong on this map. One of the weak points of Brits is their dependency on hunts, and due to the fact that they don't have that lacking hunt on this particular map, able to just continue to ramp up the pressure, continue to harass shrines. And Mitoe executed his build perfectly. He did exactly what he needed to do. Kept the Japan player bottled up, not gathering resources, denying upgrades, not allowing to get that big batch of like scary Yumi and Nagi like really rolling. And as a result, forcing shipments like 5 Yumi, 5 Ashi, things that the Japan player doesn't want to be sending. He wants to be sending upgrades and villager shipments and stuff like that. Wasn't able to do that, and as a result, Mitoe able to snowball it into a win. So good on him for that.
Yeah. Take a look, guys. Next game coming up. Oh, what is that noise? Is
I
that
don't know. It's something from you.
Oh, well, it's gone now, so that's... Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to game number 6 in this best of 7 series between Mitoe and Boneng. It is match point for Boneng, should he win this game.
Nope, other way around, Mitoe.
Oh, for Mitoe. Match point for Mitoe. Should he win this game, he will take the series and the honour of completing another best of 7 for Saturday's Smackdown. He will take away the cash prize of nothing, because we don't have one for this particular Smackdown. Though we do this every week, except for the last 2. But aside from that, every week.
Every week except for the last 2, and like 1 or 2 random times, like in November or something.
Yeah. Week 53 though. Wow, that is something. Long live Saturday Smackdown. Spawning in the north of the map in the colour blue, we do have Boneng playing as the Russians. Feeling at home on a water map, potentially. Yep. Russia, not a map, not a civilization I associate with playing on water, but they certainly can. They do have access.
They at least have schooners.
They have schooners, and that is, the important thing there. But it's, Russia. We'll see what Boneng has in store for us today. Mitoe, though, in the south of the map in the colour teal, playing as Japan. Match point for him, of course. Looks like he's playing Japan here. We'll see what happens. Nothing unusual here, though. Starting with the consulate, no doubt get the Portuguese allies, lay down a shrine, and get the discounted buildings that includes his age-up wonder. Russia, however, laying down a house, leaving that coin on the floor. We can get that later. Not needing that right now. Not going to be useful, that coin, for raging up. Oh, what do we see?
Cheeky little pickup there by Boneng. Was able to snipe the 100 XP treasure from his opponent. So
and that is
nice little pickup.
It's pretty nice for him, absolutely. Boneng doing all the hard work there. They're only taking... Is that true?
No, Mitoe used both of his stuns on the crocodiles and took a lot of damage. So.
I wasn't looking, I must admit. But there goes the shrine. Is he going to get it up in time to queue his next villager? Probably.
One would assume so.
Yeah, he's a high-level player, plus there's 2 guys on there.
One thing that I do want to point out is that it was a coin crate start, which for me is usually like scary, because on a coin crate start means you do have to gather 106 wood with Japan, and fighting against Russia, who can potentially put on a lot of early aggression, and having to gather all of that extra wood can like be pretty scary. Like it's not actually trivial to get like a really good age of time and deal with Russia's pressure with the coin crate start. And we'll have to see whether or not Boneng is going to go with a 14-ville age up or a 17-ville age up. As we mentioned, the hunts on this map can be a little tricky to handle early in the game. It looks like Boneng has struggled slightly with that. We can see that his food count is a little bit low. He is at 14 pop right now. We'll have to see whether or not he does queue up another set of villagers and go with a 17-ville age up, or if he just waits out that extra little bit of time and ages up on 14 still. But at the same time, we can see Mitoe's food count very, very low, opting for a 13-ville age up, and is going to have a very slow age up as a result of this.
Yeah. We'll see what 14 in queue at the moment. Has he queued up a next one?
No, it looks like he's going to go with a 14.
14 village, and that is what you'd expect versus Japan, right? Unless Boneng does have in store for us some sort of interesting, maybe boomy sort of water style. Maybe he wants to take on Japan that way, but that's not seeming to be the case here. I'm not even sure how effective that would be anyway. Certainly, Japan's Achilles heel is the early pressure, and Russia certainly has the shipments for that. No doubt some forward villagers. There they are, 3 villagers coming forward to lay down that early blockhouse, and those shipments that Russia has access to, in addition to some units being trained. How will Boneng deal with it, or Mitoe deal with it? Whoops.
Yeah, it's going to be tricky. The one fortunate thing for him is he does have a pretty good coin mine here to the left side of his base. It is tucked in there, which is going to be nice. He also is starting to wall up the right side of his base quite nicely here with his Teshuga Shrine. So is starting to establish some sort of curvature to the front side of his base, throwing up a wall as well. Going to just continue to make these choke points even more pronounced, which is definitely what he's going to want to do moving forward here. Also, I do like the fact that he did gather from so many of his berries out front of his base early in the game, preserving as much of this 5,000 food in the back of his base as possible. We can see that he's only used up about 200 of that food, so going to have a big chunk of food nice and safe in the backside of his base, which in itself is going to be something that's going to be worthwhile. So we'll have to see whether or not he can get up enough walls to be able to adequately dissuade this pressure here from Boneng, and how Boneng decides to follow this up, whether or not he'll play just all-out aggression, or whether or not he'll realize that his opponent is putting up some defensive structure and play a little bit more economically behind this. We'll have to see.
Yep, certainly that scout in there has seen the walls, and no doubt he's very aware of sort of the defense that Boneng has, and maybe the pressure that comes out won't be particularly effective, but still something that is important versus Japan, irrespective of the defense, certainly going to have to do something. This is depending how. Perhaps this wall will dissuade it, as you mentioned, but also plenty of food still in his backside, which I did find rather amusing when you were talking about it earlier. But it looks like 5 Cossacks have came out as his first shipment, along with 10 Strelets that he has trained, still opting for this aggressive style.
Yeah, and the barracks just coming up from Mitoe. He's got to get that out really, really quickly. He might even be able to deny it, or at least force a sentry pop. Going to be able to for sure kill one villager.
Oh, it goes down, yeah. And the
sentries do get calm.
And they get in a nice spot, take out one of the cavalry there. Strelets coming in from the other side, forcing the villagers in. Will he get another villager kill? Strelets don't have the highest damage output, so it doesn't really look like it. That one quite weak. But 2 vills in the TC that now have half HP could be something to sort of kill later on in the game here. But these Strelets are now definitely kind of trapped if he is to bolt the sentries. Could be something.
The thing is, they're so cheap and they're so effective. Like the number of resources he's denying just by continuing to stand these Strelets down here is probably in itself just as good as having the units not using the units. Like he's probably gaining as much efficiency by having the Strelets just standing in the town center as he is not losing them. There's probably about the same resource value. Yep. And as we saw last game, when Japan is forced to... Daimyo.
Him coming out. It's a pretty strong unit, right? 650 hit points. It is quite effective. It does a lot of damage, combined with all the villagers he's using to fight as well.
He's got resources for irregulars as well. I'm really surprised they haven't been called here to help kill.
But is he going to lose it? It's very low HP. It goes down. Holy... Yeah, I don't even know... a whole shipment? Just for that 650 HP guy does not feel worth it. The Daimyo is only worth it with the buff that it provides to your units. Obviously wanting to tank as much HP as he could get away with on it and do as much damage with it as he could, but actually perhaps overestimating or underestimating the amount of damage that Boneng Mitoe had in the area.
Here come their regulars, but I think it's going to be too little too late. If they would have popped with the Daimyo and you could have maybe somehow kept the Daimyo alive, maybe that would have been better. It does have 1 Yumi Archer out as well. Going to use some of his villagers here just to do as much damage to these Strelets as possible. Needs to be able to push them back. But the damage has been done here for Boneng. He's done what he needs to do with these Strelets. I mean, we can take a look at what he sent. He sent basically 5 Cossacks and 20 Strelets into this, and he's completely stifled Japan's economy behind this. He's down to 20 villagers. Doesn't have any real great economic follow-up, only sitting at 100.
Oh, only one caravel spawn. That is very, very disappointing. Holy crap. You only got the one. That was like the worst place to put that flag. Oh dear. Boneng not going to be too happy about just getting one caravel from his 2 caravel shipment. But
fortunately, it's like not. The implications of it aren't huge. Like, he could have maybe potentially thought that his opponent was like playing heavy on water, and as a result was like going to need those to like breach, you know, like his opponent's control on the water. That's not actually the case. So fortunately for him, like, it doesn't matter that much. He's basically was only probably ever going to kill that one shrine, and that's about it. Mitoe doesn't have any intentions of being on water aside from that. So it's not going to like hinder him to the largest degree, but yeah, as you mentioned, it still has a bit of bad luck.
Still going to be frustrating, absolutely. But yeah, Mitoe doesn't really appear to be doing anything that caravel will be sort of useful for. It does mean that the fights next to the coast will be, you know, not as good as they could be, but at the same time, Mitoe isn't really going to want to fight next to the coast anyway, even 1 or 2 caravels.
Most of his fighting will take place like right here, right underneath his town center. He just wants to keep his Yumis as protected as possible behind the structure that he's established, and that will be his main priority moving forward here. We can see also a couple muskets getting mixed in here, starting to ramp up the pressure on the shrines, and this is where it gets really, really tough for the Japan player, because what do you do if you push out across the map and your opponent like swings 5 or 10 Cossacks on you? Your entire infantry ball dies, but at the same time, you really want to like defend these shrines. Like, otherwise, what happens? You lose all your shrines, and your economy goes to pot as well. So it's kind of a catch-22. Do you swing out into the middle of the map and risk losing your infantry ball, or do you just allow your opponent to siege down your shrines, kill your economy, and then not really be able to continue to improve the position back at home at the same time? It's tricky to say the least.
It is, but when you're behind, perhaps the riskier play is the one to take, because you need to make stuff happen. You need to get back in it. Maybe you ought to look about defending them, but certainly by no means, cavalry a very real threat. Yeah, that's very sad. They're not even fully built. Oh dear.
And
looks
both
like
the monks are dead.
He's gonna bring out the units there to take this. Fortunately, no cavalry to threaten him just yet. Obviously, the only cavalry presence he has seen was that of the shipments, and that's a shipment. It's a one-time send at this point in time. Looks like Boneng does not have.
Boneng is aging up though here very quickly. It's going to be aged up into the 3rd age, and I mean, what is he like? How does he progress from here? Like, barring some sort of like miracle like blunder here by Boneng, like, it just seems like Japan, like, he's not going to be able to deal with the age 3 presence. He needs to be able to kill the army and kill the infrastructure in the middle of the map in one fell swoop here, and I just don't see that happening with what Boneng currently has out on the map. I just don't know that he's going to be able to he's just working against the clock right now. Now that he sees his opponent is aged up, I don't know. It's just got to be a sinking feeling for the Japanese player. For me, at least, as the Japan player in this position, like, it would just be a sinking feeling.
Yeah, like, but he still gets to pick up this blockhouse, right? There's nothing there to really stop him just yet. Boneng doesn't really want to, to engage, perhaps waiting for the unit upgrades, or just thinks that Japan has too many units there. Russian units are weaker as well. Maybe he can pick up the second one, though that is less likely, since a military shipment from the Russian player will arrive. Potentially those 2 falconets, and then suddenly, what does Mitoe do with up against 2 falcons with nothing but infantry?
He really needs like 10.
Oh, Appreciates popping out right on top. I guess it's not that bad. Appreciates still do a reasonable amount of damage, and they do have a decent. They are still cavalry, and there's nothing but archers here. This increases his siege potential massively, and actually just the underwhelming Appreciates compared to another shipment that is perhaps stronger versus military units is just enough still. To finish the game right there.
Yep, it makes the Japan player and me very sad. It's just so hard to deal with like these kinds of aggressive builds, and I think people have like worked out like this is how you beat Japan. And I mean, this has always been the case for Japan since Robot Patch basically 1.2 or 3 or whatever patch we're on now has come out. Like, this is the way you deal with Japan, and people who rate them as a as a top 3 civ or whatever are severely mistaken. I mean, we can even see like a civ like Russia, which I think most people would put fairly low on the totem pole in terms of, you know, actual civ strength.
Like,
does pretty dang well against Japan, especially on a map where you know, the Japanese player is forced with that coin crate spawn. That certainly doesn't help him, and despite all the little blunders, you know, that happened to Boneng along the way, only getting the 1 Caravel, losing a bunch of his early Strelly, still just able to ramp up the pressure and keep the contain up on his opponent, and Mitoe just suffering as a result.
But H2O brings up an interesting point in the chat there. Imagine if the Daimyo had popped out with the Minutemen and all of the units that been brought in. Perhaps, you know, the game could have gone much more favorably if especially if you hadn't lost the Daimyo as well in the Japanese players' favor. So it's not completely black and white, but certainly, you know, Mitoe.
Yeah, and I don't even really like the sending of the Daimyo there. I think it would be better to send enlist irregulars, honestly, if you're going to send a card like that. Either that or just 5 Ashigaru to be able to definitively deal with the 5 Cossacks. I think the Daimyo was a bit early in that regard, and as a result, it's hard to say, though. I mean, it's always so tempting to try and like pop the Daimyo. And if you would have popped the Daimyo with the Minutemen, certainly that would have been much stronger. Would have been able to deal with the infantry presence quite a bit better. But alas, that's not what happened. And
that's the end of the game, absolutely. So thank you very much for watching this one. We do have our final game going into game number 7 in Saturday Smackdown. Not something that happens all too often. The score is 3-3. This is match points. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen,
the decider.
Welcome back. Yes, the decider. Match point. Both players on 3 points apiece. This is a best of 7. It is effectively first to 4 wins. Our final map is Yukon. Whoever takes this series, this game takes the series rather. Spawning in the south of the map in the color teal, playing, or cyan, playing as the Chinese. We do indeed have Mitoe. Straight away, going to be sending those explorers right over to the left-hand side of the map where we do have that treasure-rich region. Lots of interesting treasures, and this map is one that creates sort of short, bloody games and a lot of tension in this sort of left-hand side of the map to begin with, which then shifts to the right-hand side where all the hunts are in the colonial age and beyond. But in the north of the map, in the color blue, we do have Boneng playing as China as well. This is a Chinese mirror. We'll have to see what happens. Boneng taking a slightly different approach, looking here to get that 40 wood treasure. That is, quite a valuable treasure. There is 40 coin and 40 XP for Mitoe, but he's just going to skip those straight away and head on to the left-hand side of the map. Perhaps find a big wood treasure to fund a village with. Certainly that second village both players will likely be going for is very important, and if you can find the wood for that would be good. 40 wood certainly a good pickup for Boneng. By no means wrong to not rush to the middle there. 150 food Mitoe has found, but ZutaZuta, I'll hand it over to you. Chinese mirror.
I'm a bit curious about what's actually going to happen in this game. Like, as you mentioned, this is a very bloody map. Usually we see fairly short aggressive games, and then you have the awkward situation where it's a Chinese mirror, which generally devolves into some sort of super tech-based play. Both players going into the third age almost guaranteed, and so I'm wondering if one of these players will pull the trigger on actually playing aggression,
the Chinese rush. Wow, yeah.
Yeah, with a 9 pike shipment or something like that, and just try and catch their opponent by surprise. Seeing the standardness of the openings here with both players creating 2 villages, I'm going to lean towards no with that answer, and I think we're just going to see mirroring FFs, and then still the same thing will happen. It'll just be a little bit more delayed. We'll have some sort of this arms race where both players try and secure the middle portion of the map. One player will successfully do so, and then at that point, the other player just gets starved out of resources. Because take a look at both players' bases, especially Boneng's. He probably has enough resources to get to the third age, but not much more than that. Like, he doesn't have really more hunts to really sustain any continued unit production on the third age.
Neither player really has any hunt. It's just that starting one, and all the hunt is literally in the middle. This is definitely bloody, as you say here. Both players going for separate treasures at the moment. 150 coin for Boneng there, and I think the treasures overall have been favouring Boneng. Mitoe only picking up the 150 food, which is fairly significant. But if you add up all the small one Boneng's gotten, perhaps matches that. So far, both players have done identical builds, 2 villages each, and we see Northern Refugees. Very, very normal things there. That effectively a free villager shipment here. We see 150 coin Mitoe picking it up. Nicely done.
Going to be really good for him. That's going to cut down the amount of coin that he needs to gather for his FF quite significantly. It's going to be really, really big for him. And we can see Summer Palace coming down. Everything looking pretty normal for him. Oh, and man after my own heart. Is that villager? Oh, where's he going?
Where is it going? It's going back. It's going the wrong way. Yeah. Turn around. Oh.
I thought he was going to play aggressive with it. If there's a player who was going to play Age 2 China, I know Mitoe likes to play Age 2 China, and so I was kind of hoping that there would be a situation where he thought to hell with it. I'm just going to play aggression, and maybe picking up that coin treasures changed his mind, but either way, he does have 2 villagers gathering coin. It looks like he is gathering.
Oh, that explorer's gonna go down. Oh dear, that's a 20% HP treasure that he is no longer be able to get. Retreating the disciple as well. They're gonna take that away. That polar bear gonna restore full HP. What is he doing? Is he thought, I can get back my explorer, come back to life with an extra 100 HP, and I can keep this bear fully damaged? No, not the case. Unfortunately, gonna have to abandon that. But wow, that was quite the distraction.
Yep. But looks like he is just gonna opt for the FF. Boneng similarly. Boneng is actually doing something a little different here. He's got a bunch of villagers gathering on wood. Is he maybe gonna play Age 2? It's hard to tell at this point. Hasn't gathered any additional coin. No, looks like he's gonna start gathering some coin. Likely that 200 wood just going to be used for ooh, no. Looks
War
like it
Academy is being laid down. Is this, therefore, a colonial age China?
There's some kind of semi-FF-ish builds that you can do with China. You can do something like 9 step rider, 700 wood, 700 coin, and train a batch of units, and have 10-ish step riders roaming out around the map, which aren't great units, but they do provide some presence, at least in the middle portion of the map. And on this map where presence in the middle portion of the map is important, it could be it could be enough to at least make his opponent a little bit nervous, but we'll have to see. If anything, there are the step riders. So
7 step riders. That is one hell of a shipment. You get a lot of cavalry units. They are not particularly strong units, but still 7 units there. Looks like though the disciple has scouted it. The surprise factor is no longer going to be a thing. Mitoe fully aware of the colonial age China, but still not really going to be doing anything differently. He's still going to FF. He's too far into it to back out now. The age up has gone down, and here we see the Tower of Victory.
Porcelain Tower. Although with the number of resources it generates, it might as well be called the Tower of Victory.
Wait, they are different. They are different towers. Whoops. They did the same thing though, right?
Well, no, Tower of Victory is the India one, right? It gives you inspiration.
Yes. I'm getting confused with the names. The one that generates resources.
India doesn't have one that generates resources.
No,
this one does generate resources.
This one does.
True that. And it looks like Boneng is going to do that build that I mentioned with the 7 step riders and then the semi-FF for this 700 coin. It does give him a little bit of pressure here out in the middle portion of the map. It is going to allow him to, siege down his opponent's trading post. It is also giving him a little bit of damage on some of these villagers, making him have to garrison some of his villagers inside of his town center, and maybe not allowing him to gather quite as many resources as he maybe would like to in the transition. But at the same time, he's going to be aged up significantly slower than his opponent. He's not going to have nearly as much early tech advantage as his opponent. As we can see, he's just now gathering up his 700 coin and just now going to be laying down the foundation as Mitoe is quickly approaching the third age in completion.
I was thinking that actually this might be pretty good against what Mitoe is doing in the mirror. But actually, now that the porcelain tower is a thing and people aren't going up with 8 Arquebusier, these cavalry aren't going to be particularly useful at killing what comes out as soon as he hits up. Here, if they killed the Arquebusier and the units from the Summer Palace, it was really quite nice. But there aren't any Arquebusier. And actually, these centuries doing a pretty good job of killing off a lot of the step riders. It feels
you got them in such a good spot.
Yeah, it feels like this 7 step rider and this sort of early Chokanu have been rather underwhelming.
Yeah, they really haven't accomplished what they were hoping to accomplish. They did take down the trading post in their regards, but nothing really aside from that. And as you mentioned, now he's just so far behind. He's aging up, significantly slower. And Mitoe's just going to have that huge tech advantage. He's going to have so many more units than his opponent moving out forward across the map here in the mid portion of the game. And he's going to be able to push back the resource gather locations. Take a look at where Boneng is gathering resources from currently. Fairly exposed location out in the middle of the map. And moving forward there, I mean, the next hunt that he has to secure, way the hell out here. And I mean, how does he secure that now that he's behind in tech, behind in military presence? Going to be very, very difficult moving forward for Boneng.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. Intervention has arrived. Perhaps one of the strongest of China's shipments, and no doubt more and more shipments on top of that. And all this time, of course, Boneng one behind. As a result of sending 7 step riders in the colonial age. Rather
well, and even maybe more importantly, he wasn't able to sink his 7. He doesn't have a 700 wood shipment sent, and so he's not going to have the infrastructure. We can see that he's having to gather wood just to create the village, whereas Mitoe is actively getting upgrades. He's got blanket filters. He's getting civil servants research, and so he's not only just pulling ahead in the regards that his build has been better in the regard that he's gotten aged up faster and stuff like that, but he's getting more out of his build as well. He's getting actual upgrades from his 700 wood, improving his infrastructure. Doesn't have that stress on his economy of having to essentially create villages from gathered wood, just being able to use that shipped wood instead. So definitely helping his economy and helping his infrastructure at the same time. So Boneng does have a few more units at the current time than his opponent, just due to the fact that he does have those arquebusiers, because he did age up with the Confucian Academy. But I don't know that will necessarily provide him the largest of bonuses moving forward here, especially due to the fact that there are quite a few redcoats out on the map from Intervention. So composition-wise, looking quite nice for Mitoe as well.
Intervention rhymes with interjection. Well, it really doesn't, but we do have a bit of a fight here. Sort of.
Yep. Both players trying to get in position. The Meteor Hammer's doing a pretty good job of just tanking some of the damage here from the ranged units. A couple Disciples coming in as well, and just those Redcoats adding in all that DPS from the backside. Going to be able to really cut through the front lines here, and it looks like it's going to be a fairly one-sided victory for Mitoe. Oh, attack! Why is he not attacking? He's just running around so much. Attack! Fight! Shoot! Use your guns, men!
Yeah, they need to fight. But I was just thinking, this might be really hard to see, because it's blue on cyan, which is very similar.
It's blue and cyan, and then they're on top of this big white mass.
So I pressed Alt F to change the colors, and they both went red, and I thought, well, that's very useful for yeah, that was great. But this fight, though, looks fairly even now that we've cleared up this last Meteor Hammer, and certainly these, the remaining ranged infantry here of Mitoe can now escape. They don't have to continue fighting. But overall, actually, economy's very even, and that fight also, quite even. Mitoe is up by 7 military units, but it's quite volatile at this stage because both players are sending shipments left, right, and center, and popping batches of units, as you can see here now.
Fortunately for Mitoe, though, he does have the porcelain tower behind this, so his economy is actually significantly stronger.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, having these kind of like skirmishes in the middle of the map where units go about even is going to work out to be in his favor in the long run. And we can also take a look at the upgrades as well. Civil servants, blanket filters, hunting eels. He's even got imperial bureaucracy completely finished. So his economy is actually significantly stronger than his opponents at this point.
Yep.
And as long as he doesn't die to like this next little push, he's gonna, find reinforcing units to be much easier moving forward here.
It sounds like something I say a lot when I play other games. As long as I don't die, I will eventually win.
As long as I don't die, I shall win the game.
Yep, that seems about it. But what do you think of the sort of the difference between these two age-up wonders? Of course, the Porcelain Tower seems to be a recent innovation, sort of popularized by H2O. On its return, generating a lot of resources. This seems to always generate you just enough wood to lay down in the next village. Whereas, traditionally, I've always built the Confucius Academy for the 8 extra units. But does the extra resources, is it interesting? This fight, though, is probably more interesting.
Yeah, the fight is going to be more interesting. Unfortunately, fortunately for Mitoe, he's got his stuff in a really good position. Redcoat's popping up from the right-hand side. Arquebusiers coming in. Crow coming in as well. Probably not going to be able to get there in time to make a difference. We can see all the villagers essentially dying for Boneng here. And even if he's able to somehow stabilize off the back of this flying crow, he's going to be really far behind in terms of villager count. 36 versus 19 at this point. A few more disciples popping out. And I think that's going to be game. Despite the fact that, the crow is there and alive, the military counts are still fairly even. Losing that many villagers is going to be absolutely detrimental to your economy. And should the crow get sniped here by a couple of the meteor hammers?
No, it's not going to. But as you say, like, being that many villagers down is, within the next 5 minutes, gonna really, really show in terms of the amount of units that both players will have. Even at this point, Mitoe is 10 units up, which is an entire, 25% extra compared to Boneng being at 30. At this point, it's already looking pretty tough, and the lack of villagers is going to exacerbate them.
Yeah, back to your point about the Confucian Academy versus Porcelain Tower. It's not actually a super new invention. It actually used to be the norm. People switched to using Confucian Academy just because it was just a switch in the metagame. And I think it's just another switch in the metagame. Like, people expect China to FF, and having those extra units can make it difficult to deal with them early. And so people have just been like, I'll make a trading post and semi-FF behind it. And then if China anticipates that you're going to semi-FF and play Boomy and try and catch them, try and catch those units right on the age up, then you don't need to make those units, right? It's just better to have economy. So it's just continual adaptations to the metagame and shifts in the metagame. I don't know that one is distinctly inherently better, and someone will say, yeah, but I've been winning a lot with making Porcelain Tower, and that's probably true, but it's just as a result of a shift in the metagame and shifting towards the Cav semi-FF and semi-FFE builds being really strong and currently in the meta, and I think it's just a reaction to that, if nothing else.
And I think you're right there. But another interesting fight here. Oh, the Manchu arrived just on time for Mitoe. I thought, this is fairly even despite what we've been saying, but now that really does even up the game here. Such a power spike this shipment here. 1,000 gold sunk into it, and also a shipment, and the units themselves are very, very strong. As you can see, clearing up effectively every single unit Boneng has, and Boneng says GG. Mitoe takes the victory, 4 games to 3 in this best of 7. Well played, Mitoe. Chat spam PogChamp.
Yeah. Getting the better of the Egypts there, was able to stabilize behind the Porcelain Tower, and once you get the control of the map in the middle, we can see Boneng, got caught out, lost a lot of villagers, and you're never going to catch up when you're 20 villagers down. It's not rational to believe that. So, doing a good job of securing the map when it was important. Making the right strategic choices. Had a really nice Minutemen pop there back in his base. If we go back to how well timed the disciples and all that stuff kind of came pouring out of his town center and kind of caught him in this little corridor here as he was trying to retreat, killed a lot of stuff for free there, and that's kind of what got the snowball running in terms of map presence in the middle of the game. As a result of that, never really let up and just kept kept up the pressure and kept up the advantage from that point forward. So nice little pop there, probably swinging the game in his favor early in the game, and Boneng not able to catch up after that point.
Yeah, that is the end of the game though, and I'm going to take a quick look at the post game. I enjoyed this one, Zua. That was that villager drop is absolutely brutal.
Yeah, and you can see the military drop as well. Like right when he hits to third age, and Mitoe basically pops, a couple disciples, both sets of Minutemen, and Boneng basically just loses everything for free. And then from that point forward, Mitoe just never really lets up on the gas.
So thank you very much for watching. Do subscribe to my YouTube channel if you'd like to watch this in full. Perhaps you missed the start, something like that. But don't go anywhere. We do have... well, at least I'll be here for the AMA if it's still going ahead. So we'll be switching over to the ESO TV channel. Stay tuned. If you're watching this as a VOD, links to that channel are in the description. Currently, there is a couple videos up. There was a podcast I did last week where we discussed the Russian shipments. We were going to do Spain this week, but this Smackdown lasted a long time. So we're going to do the...
it was like 3.5 hours.
Crazy Smackdown. Absolutely monstrous. I'm so glad this happened for the return of Smackdown. It was this is exactly what I was hoping for. But yeah, we're doing the Spain. That'll join either on my channel or the official ESO TV channel. Well, officially unofficial sort of community... created by the community for the community channel. Yes, but that does conclude Smackdown. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you all again next week.